All
right, we are live.
Welcome to All Politics of Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics of Local. But more importantly, y'all know if it's the third Friday, y'all know it's time for our brother, the one and only Mayor Raz J. Baraka, our beloved brother, the mayor of the city of our city, or the home city for all of us, the city of Newark, New Jersey. So we want to welcome y'all. Of course, he's going to be up first. And then after that, John, who we got?
At 7 o'clock, we have State Senator Britnee Timberlake talking about the latest legislation being debated in Trenton. And at 7:45, we have Cuqui Rivera of the Latino Action Network talking about their annual legislative assembly on March 2nd. And of course, after that, we have DJ Rhino and the State of Hip Hop.
All right.
So it should be a good night.
All right.
Yes,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, brother?
I'm good. I cannot complain.
Well, you know, man, I know what I want to talk about, but since it's your show, I'm gonna let you start it because I want to get into some crazy stuff, man. But I'm gonna let him go.
Okay.
Some crazy stuff. I don't know.
I don't know. You said crazy. I'm not. I don't know crazy.
When I say crazy, I was like, they was messing with the sister in Atlanta, the prosecutor, right?
Oh, okay.
And she had to get them straight, right? When she told them fools on the news on the witness stand, when she said, "Don't," I'm paraphrasing, but she said, "Don't get it twisted." She said, "I am not the one on trial." She said, "You guys are the one on trial for trying to steal an election out of Atlanta," right? Oh, my brother, that was dope, brother. I mean, she came real black, real strong, and I was like, wow. I was sitting there looking at that, man. I couldn't believe, now remember, man, this is something you would do. But, they didn't know, they thought she wasn't going to come in, right? But she's like, yo, I'm the boss. She's like, she's at the hell with that.
Okay, so just in all fairness, I would say that would be one thing that the mayor would not do, because the mayor would never be that messy, right? No. That's a messy situation. He would not. So he would not do that. He would not be. He would not be in that situation to begin with.
I would like to say, I think that my brother, if it came push to shove and somebody was saying something he wasn't saying, or the mayor speaks for himself, man.
Fair enough.
Now I ain't never seen the mayor, and I'm sure Zaid and the mayor sitting right there. I ain't never, and since the mayor been on the show, we'll say to the mayor when we don't think he want to talk about that, the mayor be like, "What the hell? Don't want to talk about that." I ain't never seen the mayor. And listen, and Zaid, this is true. This was before the mayor became the mayor. You ain't said, hey man, I remember we had a rally in front of City Hall, and the mayor called some dudes out. Because everybody in the community was afraid, to call these suckers out. The man was like, "Yo, y'all afraid to bring them down? Bring them to me. I'm gonna tell y'all where I'm at. Come see me, right?" And I think that there's a time for us, man, as black folk, when we just have to, yo, man, you can't sully my name, and I'm standing right there, I'm sitting right there, I don't say nothing.
Yeah,
and I think that's what was happening to her yesterday.
Yeah. I think those people were just using that as a shield, that as an excuse. They know this era and this age and all this stuff that's going on. They thought they threw that in there, that somehow that was going to absolve them of the foolishness that they did. And I'm glad she handled it that way.
Yeah.
Despite what she did, you guys broke the law.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. And so that didn't excuse you from trying to steal the election, by the way. Yeah. So.
Yes.
I thought that was incredibly appropriate.
It was a good shift back.
And I'm saying, from my standpoint, man, I saw that sister, man, stand up, man, when all these black women prosecutors are being attacked, and for her to stand up and defend herself, right? And the fact that they, listen, man, they don't have anything, so they're going after her personal life, right?
Yeah, that's all.
And that's supposed to be off limits, man. I thought.
No, ain't nothing off limits today, brother.
No.
At the end of the day, that's the last.
That's what fascism on the attack looks like.
Yeah, the last refuge of a scoundrel, brother. That's what they're gonna do. You know, they don't have. They're back against the wall. This guy's getting hit from all corners. And honestly, I don't think any of this is gonna stop him from doing anything he wants to do. He's
Yeah,
still
man.
gonna be the number one contender for the Republican Party.
Right.
You know, he's still garnering support and votes. So it doesn't none of this stuff makes a difference. It really just making people is this, making his supporters more solid behind him actually, which is crazy to me, but that's what's happening apparently, because he's wiping the floor with them other people, man.
Right.
Yeah.
He really is, and
Yeah.
he's like the stuff that he's saying is completely like unintelligent and unintelligible, and I don't know what he talks about when he gets up there, like off the cuff craziness, and they like that. And the really scary thing is that a number of black men
Yeah.
are recording that they're going to support this guy.
Yep.
For what purpose? I have no idea, but I mean, just the mythology that they come up with that black people did better under Donald Trump, which is like not true. I've asked people to show me that data. Like it's completely fictitious.
And do you think that this is like, I remember before when they were saying black men were voting for Trump, like in 2016, it turned out like not to be true in that it was like less than 12% or something, or 15%. It was like a real low number, like comparatively. But do you think that it's more significant now? Because I've heard it, I've talked to people,
Yeah,
right? We've interviewed people on the show who
and they
seem
got
like
these
the Trump's
polls.
leaning.
But people saying they have these polls. I like to see them though. They say they have these polls that polling people that say
Who are
that
they polling?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, anecdotally, you hear like on Instagram and Facebook, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. These people say they're gonna vote, so they really think that's something they should probably do. It's ridiculous. I mean, the discussion in any stretch, 15% of black men voting for Donald Trump is way too much.
Right.
First of all, that's just ridiculous. There's no way that you should even get that. Not even close to that, But I this whole he is the victim and trying to. I've heard somebody I know from this community say, "Oh, they scared of Donald Trump." They should be.
Right. Right.
Saying it like how we say it, like, "Oh, they scared of the brother." They come to get him because they scared of him. I said, no, they really should be scared of this guy. This guy is a complete fascist, a nut.
Yeah.
Who will allow anything to take place, and we should be scared enough to do something about it. Absolutely.
Hey, look, man. Mama Baraka told us that 2 years ago, didn't she, Zaid? When she sat up there, she told us, don't, and this, and this before he made the announcement to run again. And she was like, don't y'all get that twisted. This man.
He was going to run as soon as he lost.
Yeah.
He was going to try and get that back. But one of the things that Mama Mina lifted up that I do want to touch on, because I learned from Dad Ras, that word that not too many people understand, and the Democrats really don't understand it because they're the worst example of it now. Capitulationism.
Yeah.
Right? Your mother raised the 14th Amendment question as a point of challenge to check his behind. Right? Several states are trying to do it. And of course, as it has gone up to the Supreme Court, you're getting this appearance of a consensus that this is really not, we're not really going to do this.
Right. No.
And that's like, what are y'all for? You know what I mean? We understand why the right wing on the Supreme Court is, we understand that.
Yeah.
But, the other folks like, really? At this historical juncture, y'all gonna, give him a pass?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I knew that was going to happen, though. I mean, these guys, they have to be careful of the precedents they set for themselves. That's really what it is, because, at the end of the day, there's probably some Democrats that are high up in that situation who are like, we can't let this go on either, because they'll be taking us off the ballot. you know.
Right, and any rule that's passed for white people like that,
that's how they saying it. Yeah,
would be used doubly for black people. Like that, I mean, they're already doing it. I mean, they're already taking out prosecutors and taking out people in Florida, people who've been elected. It will work in the long run. It probably would work more against us than for us by setting that precedent. I understand the argument.
Well, at the end of the day, if they prove that this guy led a rebellion into the Capitol, then he should be disqualified.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were congressional hearings.
Right. And if they they clearly said that this guy was the titular head of this movement to go into the Capitol, then he should be disqualified on the face of the law.
And I think that they should have actually charged him with insurrection. Right? They should have been like, no, this is what you're guilty of. This is what we're charging you with. They didn't do
it. That's the mic dropper. Yes.
Yeah, they didn't do it. They always go up to the front door and never knock on it.
Right. Because it is what it is, right? They had evidence to prove insurrection. And it seemed pretty blatant, right? Like all the evidence is like he knew he lost. He conspired with a bunch of people to try to thwart that so that he could literally overturn an election. He got electors. I mean, there are a lot of people. They got him on tape saying, "Find me votes." I mean, I don't know what more they needed. And you can't have the courts do your job for you when you had the ball in your hand to be able to be like, "No, this is insurrection. We've proven this. We have the evidence. We're laying it down in the court."
Yeah, that's what they wouldn't go that far. You know, it's like with the hanging Chad, they knew that there was discrepancy there, and the Democratic Party just laid down for that.
Yeah, that's right.
And years later, you realize that that Gore should have won by hundreds of votes. Right.
They laid down for that. They always protect, the ruling class at the expense of
there you go.
Constitution and democracy all the time. They're gonna side with themselves in the end. Like we might be on different, journeys here in terms of like but ideologically in some aspect, but we gonna protect this class, that's what they're doing. 100%. Like
yes sir.
I mean, you saw that happen when guys laid down. They laid down then, they're gonna lay down now for that, just make enough noise to try to get him not elected, but not go all the way with it. That's all they really want is to have power, but they don't want to, go too far where power has to actually be challenged.
But what's interesting is that normally, in this country, folks say, "Oh, we'll support you all the way up to the line to the level of conviction," right? Then once you get convicted, then most people start falling off. All right, so now Donald Trump is, the jury has made a decision in these civil cases in New York. He's got these different levels of conviction. He got all, these cases, from one to another. And, you think about any of the brothers and sisters who would ever run for office or would ever held any electoral position, there's no way in hell that one, they'd be able to raise the money this guy's constantly raising. Two, they wouldn't even be able to stay in the seats because they'd be heckled out of office so damn bad that there's no way they could go or their families could go. I mean, we've got to look at how the racism is so pervasive in this country, and the MAGA group is
without question.
That is incredible, and we are allowing this to happen, which is absolutely incredible. Because you think about, I think about all the brothers and sisters I know who had ran for office, could never run for office again because of some stuff they were accused of, couldn't even prove it,
right?
And they can't even run.
Yeah, just that this is clear. That. I mean, that's where we at. It's very clear. That's what's going on. There's nothing you could do. You don't have, Donald Trump is at a different place, in America than most of us.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, he has the privilege to do all these different things that he's doing.
Privilege.
And he's not going to get the same kind of treatment and the same kind of, resolution that you're going to get at the end of all of this. Like, this is not going to happen. And after all of this is said and done, he's still going to be a millionaire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though they took, millions from him, he still will be. Right.
Yeah. His worst case.
Yeah. At least they said that, that stuff is going to be appealed, this thing, that thing. You never know what's going to happen at the end of all of that. And maybe he will pay some money. I don't doubt that he will, but it's not the fundamentally, this stuff is going to remain.
And you know what's crazy? Now I know this gonna blow y'all mind, man. You probably know this, but do you know this guy's able to use that money he's raising to pay these lawyers?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, that's possible.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, you can do that.
Yep.
I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah, you can use campaign funds to do that. So
yeah. Which is, and I'm like, as soon as the judge ruled today, he started raising money, right?
Of
and
course.
I'm like, to hire more lawyers. I'm like, this is absolutely insane, man. I mean, so why not continue to appeal, right? And what I heard someone say today, a good friend of mine, from law school said today, he said, listen, man, he says this cat ain't running, for nothing else but to be the president, so he can make all that federal shit go away, brother. He said, y'all already know that. He said, let's be clear, right? He said, if any of y'all sitting down, lawyers not telling folks that, he said, Donald Trump could care less. I mean, this man is insane. He got 91 felony charges. Who in the hell can defend 91 felony charges unless you got money constantly coming in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, his worst case scenario is Rudolph Giuliani declare bankruptcy and just keep on rolling. That's his worst case scenario. We ain't worried about no real accountability.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't see any of that. All these cases are civil cases. There's nothing criminal about these things that are going on.
Right.
I mean, if he's not convicted of anything criminally, he still can run for office.
Right. And the other cases probably won't take place. The criminal cases aren't going to take place until after probably the election, right? Like, the case in Atlanta, they're obviously dragging that one out. The federal case on documents, they've got a judge down in Florida. They've got another federal case that will also probably be delayed, right? Like, so if these federal cases don't happen till after the election, then he'll only be convicted if he loses.
Right. Without question. And they're just gonna walk away if he get elected. Those things are on the back burner all the way to the end of his term.
That's right.
That's right. And then you could best believe he gonna pardon himself out the door, right? He gonna make him go away.
They ain't gonna convict him before that, so he ain't gonna be able to pardon himself yet.
Yeah. Well,
they gotta convict him after he walk out of there.
Right.
And that's the thing. And even still, like, I just don't see the desire after this is over. For the appetite, after that, these people to continue this. I mean, even the lawyers will say that, some of these cases, statute of limitations, depending on, how long they take, may expire here. I don't know, so it's important. And these guys know what they're doing, these are not like run-of-the-mill lawyers. These people know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Without question.
Yeah.
So you don't know, what he has planned or has in store. And the election is gonna be crazy, period.
It is.
Oh my God, yes.
The thing is gonna be period. I mean, it's gonna be really wild next year.
And the thing that's real interesting is that it seems like the entire Democratic, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, like I hear AOC talking, I hear Squad talking, and everybody's like, no, Joe Biden, no, we're clear. Nope, no division, no line. He's been good. Here they start listing the things that he's done and just start moving. Like, no division, no.
They should do that. I mean, we getting close, man. You only got a few months away for this thing.
Right.
You know, it is those. And the interesting thing is, it doesn't even feel like it, right? It doesn't even feel like this is presidential season.
No.
Right.
No.
The Republicans are basically going through like a fall like kind of show. You know what I mean? You don't know. You know, this is not a real election.
Right.
You know, it's just really, Donald Trump and maybe Nikki Haley. You know, who I'm surprised is still hanging around.
Yeah, I think she's hanging around just in case.
Just in case.
Just in
Yeah,
case.
just in case.
But the question is, do she have enough money to hang around?
She'll have enough money.
Yeah, I think she will.
Hmm.
I think she will. I think there are people who hedging their bets. So I think she will have enough money to hang around. And honestly, she's probably worse than Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And people need to hear what you're saying, because this thing is not just him.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's a whole slate of characters that are really trying to push this agenda down this country's throat.
I heard her talking about, and this is a difficult topic for a lot of people to raise, but I heard her talking about just the two-state solution that most sane people want, between Israel and Palestine. And she said that they should just leave and go to that. All of them should just leave and go to Egypt or any pro-Hamas country. That's like so like dumb. You can't say. I mean, there's no other way to explain that.
Wow.
And it's really the way
this
they
is
view
the former
all of us. They view everybody
representatives
as
to the United Nations saying that.
Wow.
That you view
Right?
all of these people as one kind of monolith is like crazy and bizarre. It's dangerous to make statements like that.
Wow.
That's
Because
like,
that is the definition of ethnic cleansing.
To the United
like
Nations,
it's like
totally
people say the
oblivious.
Native Americans.
International. That's right. Come
It
on.
might be like 100 different like Native American groups that like are completely different from one another, or people say the Africans or something like that, right? So, I mean, not knowing that there's a continent and there are hundreds of different languages, and the culture in the East is completely different than the culture in the West. Like everybody, a lot of those Palestinians ain't even Muslim.
Right. Right. I mean, and
Bethlehem went on, did a shutdown.
Like it doesn't make sense that like
a Christian community,
educated person running for national political office makes statements like this.
And she knows better, right?
Yeah,
like
it's
she's
okay.
actually a highly intelligent woman who's calculated, and she says stuff because she thinks it'll help her win.
Yeah,
and that's like some genocidal stuff to say.
Actually, I hope she's smart enough at least to believe that that's going to help her win. Maybe I just thought that she needed like a geography lesson. I mean, I don't know what her capacity is, but for her to even say that means there's a lot of information that she's missing.
Right.
Right. Or she's leaving out. This is the same lady, by the way, who refused to say that slavery was at the basis of the Civil War.
That's right.
Right.
And so I don't know if that's a history kind of lesson. You gotta understand that people were taught in different places in this country who omitted and changed history different ways. So she may honestly believe in her foolishness and ignorance that slavery was not one of the bases to fight the Civil War. And somebody had to tell her, look, you can't say that, because not only is it like offensive, it's actually ahistorical.
Right.
It's inaccurate.
Right, completely inaccurate. So why are you even talking this way?
She put on an informed side when the massacre took place at State Senator Pinckney's church.
Yeah.
And the little sister went and took that damn Confederate flag down, right? She put on a facade of having some kind of humanity, that's how she rolled that into Trump's White House and became the ambassador to the United Nations.
Right.
Right.
It's just these people are dangerous people. And to say something like that is, you have statesmen and Jews in the Democratic Party and higher office saying that, we should have a two-state solution. So this kind of comments that these people are making is just akin to the kind of right-wing conservatism that exists internationally.
Right.
And what people have to understand is that this
that
kind of right-wing
got to be one of the point men for that international expression. Bolsonaro, who thankfully got his behind beaten, his last election was won.
Yeah,
the Joker over in India, I can't call his name out. Yeah, him too. Yeah,
all of these people pop up. It's this kind of international right-wing extremism, man. You just got to be, and people understand that there's a relationship. All these people are the same people. Like, so Putin as well. So, right. We just have to, it's so much confusion on the internet and everywhere else, and misinformation and bad information out there, that people get confused and afraid because they don't have information.
Yeah.
So they're being governed by fear.
Yeah. And they do have information. It's just bad information, right? Like, they can't tell good or bad, right? Like,
absolutely, it's confusion. They're totally confused and really trying to figure out, which way to go here. And it's really incumbent on folks to put this information out. And one of the things that we were used to having that we don't have anymore is all of these news outlets that can give us the right and solid information.
Yep. Yeah.
We had, like, we could talk about the Cleveland Gazette, the Pittsburgh Courier, the Amsterdam News. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like It Is, Tony Brown's Journal.
Yep.
Like, we had all kind of stuff, brother, from head to toe, that we could rely on alternative information that came from solid news sources that had the same kind of thinking that we had, or that can give us information so we're clear on what's really happening here. And it's not like governed by a multimedia conglomerate.
And just the fact that this Nikki Haley comment didn't get much play. And like, the sentence she said was, why doesn't Egypt want them? Because she doesn't really know who is a terrorist and who isn't. Like, as in, wow, you literally just labeled an entire group of people as terrorists. You're justifying their murder, right? And you are literally
at best, their incarceration.
Right, their murder, incarceration, and to be ethnically cleansed, right? So if you don't get out, you'll be arrested, you'll be killed, or you leave.
That's incarceration.
Right. At best, their incarceration. That's right. That's what you're advocating. And we're in such a, like, wild climate. Like, it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
That these comments don't appear as offensive as they should be.
Yep.
As dangerous as they should be. Because that can be applied to anyone, by the way. Those kind of comments can be applied to anyone. Any group of people, those comments can be applied to, given the right circumstance. And these people would apply it to them.
Yeah. Right. But the reason why is because we've had Donald Trump give us that shit for 4 years, just that crazy talking. And now it seems like anybody who wants to challenge him or anybody who wants to get that mega support have got to talk crazy like that. Right.
Yeah. And that's what he did. That's the purpose of what he did.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of it.
And all of those other forces trying to, push that agenda, they all play the same playbook.
But I think the language of all this started in 2001 when we allowed the word terrorist to be used to substitute for no law needs to apply to how to deal with you, right? If we label you as a terrorist, we can kill not just you, but your community, and we'll call it collateral damage, right? We can invade countries just thinking that they have a weapon of mass destruction, even though there's no proof or evidence, because we're like, terrorism trumps human rights. It trumps the considerations that many fought for years in terms of internationally human rights have to be respected. torture is a bad thing, right? So we started that a while ago, and I would like to say, probably, and Zaid and Mayor, they've been doing that to Black people forever, right? The only difference in 2001 is that they expanded even more blatantly toward other people, even though that's probably always been the playbook, right? If you are a terrorist threat, danger, then rights, laws, constitutionality, none of that needs to apply.
The only, and I don't want us to stay dark on this either, because the thing is, let me just go here for a minute. The question of Palestinian solidarity is a huge question right now, and the thing that I'm trying to take heart from is that you've got a country full of mass mobilization and protest that is lifting up the question of ceasefire, genocide, and so forth. But it's a multiracial, intergenerational movement that's doing it in support of the Palestinian people, right? This country has not seen that before. It has very serious resonance in terms of, the old days when some of us really threw down around the whole question of anti-apartheid, of an anti-apartheid movement against South Africa, right? So I'm hoping that that dimension and hoping that it continues to get young, because it's definitely young led, right? Really matures, really is really serious about some real tactical stuff and getting some stuff done. To check the APACs, and of course all of these Trumpite wannabes, right? It's not 2024 as crazy these people are and as dangerous these people are, it's not, we don't have the same demographics that we had in 1876 when our ancestors had to face that troop withdrawal out of the South. There's more of us.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of other folks that look a lot like us. right. And hopefully enough of there is a large enough handful of white folks that ain't as crazy as the rest of them.
Right. I think that's a good
point.
point.
Just organize these folks.
Yeah, the alliances, and just like on the other end of that, like all of these other groups, like their ability to come to the cover and aid of African American struggle here in this country. I mean, honestly, like it has to improve, right? People have to step up, and the best I saw it is after George Floyd, right?
Yeah.
But we haven't seen that in a long time.
Yes, right. Yeah,
and that was just so blatant and vile that anybody with humanity would be opposed to that. Like, but there are very specific things that that we've been fighting for a very long time. Whether it's anti-lynching bills and housing and economic growth and development and reparations and all these other things that we talk about, that we have to get other people to support as well, right? We have to get a kind of united front of all nationalities to support the African American struggle here.
United front against fascism. This language we
need that here. We need that collectively and get people to understand that our struggle, our individual struggle, is really a collective one. There is no thing that we gained in the United States that everybody else didn't benefit from.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Right. The rising tide lift all boats. That they talking about us. That's us. Our struggle produced the 14th Amendment for citizenship.
That's right. That's
period.
Right. That's right.
Our struggle lifted all struggles, and the whole civil rights struggle informed all these other movements. Whether you're talking about Chicano liberation or the Mexican or farmers out there, or all the other things that were going on, women's rights, and all the other things that were a part of that. Informed
all came on the wings of our struggle. That's right.
Yeah. Like even when you look at immigration, right? Immigration was real racist up until the late 60s as a result of the civil rights movement. immigration law was actually changed to allow more people in from Black and brown countries. Our country would look fundamentally different right now had it not been for the civil rights movement, not just helping Black people in the United States, but everybody who came here after the 60s, all that waves of immigration from the Caribbean, from Africa, from Asia, all of that, right, is informed by our civil rights struggle, because before that, there were very specific laws that said white only.
And what you just said, Jonathan,
not just white,
is one of the serious points of attack right now.
Right. Specific white,
Right.
It wasn't all white people. At the end of the day, they had things that said Irish, no Irish and dogs allowed too. So at the end of the, our fight, our struggle in this country from slavery to present has informed, supported, buttressed all these movements around here, right? And that's important. So people won't think that, they think based on this rhetoric here that our condition is self-imposed, self-inflicted,
right?
That because we don't struggle, we haven't fought back, we haven't organized, or we're not as smart, or whatever these kind of things that they put out there. Because we don't need sympathy, we need allies. And folks with the narrative that's out there make people believe these things that are false. I had a discussion with a brother from Cameroon who was talking about why Newark, the pace of development in Newark is not as fast as another place. And I told him he should read How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. First of all, let's start there.
Right.
Yes.
Because then you could talk about why a continent so rich with all of the minerals and values and gold and is not as developed as a small country in Eastern Europe, right? So because of the purposeful and deliberate underdevelopment of these countries, it kind of slows down progress. This is why Ghana makes cocoa, but the best chocolate is in Sweden.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So when you start talking about places like Newark and Cleveland and Detroit and East St. Louis and places like that where we are in the majority, that these cities were purposefully underdeveloped, right? There were laws that were created to redline these communities and stagnate development and incentivize development in other communities and other neighborhoods very purposely, so we operating from behind. So now, even in our struggle, you got all these Black mayors all over the country who are struggling with these concepts, trying to figure out how to get these things right. And so because we can't explain what's going on in a real political sense in a whole way, you take the brunt of all of the blame for everything that has happened for decades before you showed up. And because folks are not politically astute or clear, there's no clarity and nobody's explaining what's going on. People blame individuals and not the system. Which is why the work that we do is always been it's about removing individuals as opposed to removing a system.
Right. Wow.
And I think that, like, one of the things I read 2 days ago is that Vice Chancellor Nancy Cantor is leaving and going to Hunter, right? And I know that you worked with her closely. I know that you fought to have her stay. I know that there was like a 60% increase in kids from Newark going to college or getting accepted to Rutgers Newark. And it seems like she was attacked for the amount of scholarship she gave to Newark kids and for the amount of Newark kids that directly benefited from her being there. How can we learn from this? What do we learn from this?
Well, first we have to, like I said, we have to organize ourselves into a united front. We got to codify the things that we put in place, systematize it so it's not based on individuals, but based that can live past individuals, because they're coming after you one way or the other.
Right.
That it can live past you. That's important, and that we're building an organization that we're preparing other people to come behind you. So getting rid of you is not getting rid of the idea, right, or the movement or whatever it is. That's important, and then we got to support people who support us.
But
that's clear. We got to support people that support us.
But I think she got a lot of support, right?
Like, if I can, Jonathan, right? Because and it's a weakness that that we just often don't look at and don't talk about, on our side of the fence. We're talking about higher education,
Right.
talking about a Nancy Cantor school and whatnot, right? We've been fighting for, we fought to get into Rutgers, Newark, as far back as '69 in a very real way, right? And that has other implications, throughout the state as it does throughout the country, right? We have an HBCU tradition, throughout our community and whatnot. But two of the weakest points of organization in our community is the support, or having structures that support with resources those same institutions, our alumni associations, those kind of things and whatnot. Other folks a bit more developed on that, right? We kind of get the degree and get the job and get the career and run. I've always felt bothered that for all of our shortcomings, we do spend a hell of a lot of money, right? And a lot of us who are doing well do come from black schools, and black schools are still, in my modest judgment, too dependent on resources outside of our community for their sustainability, right? And it's always made them vulnerable to certain things that limits how they get how they teach,
Right.
And then I mean you've been to Howard. You had to raise some hell at Howard too. Remember that? Yeah. Remember, right? I mean, because that's so there's some places where we have to take some ownership for some political maturity and the protection of our interests through the protection of our institutions.
Right.
But let me ask this question though. So, based around Nancy Cantor, right? So, man, what we've heard on the show, right, is that when the new president came in, his issues wasn't so much with Nancy Cantor as it was with how she was supporting the city of Newark as opposed to supporting the idea. And I'm talking now as a graduate.
We're talking about a black guy, Ed.
Right. But I'm also talking as a guy who got a degree on his education university, right?
Yeah.
But he comes in, and what he says is that she's supporting Mayor Baraka's plan, but she's not supporting the Rutgers plan. Like, okay, what does that mean? What we're doing something to help the kids in our community. We're doing something to change the lives of kids who can't afford to go to school. What I mean, what are you saying? And we're talking about a guy who never have a real conversation with us. But there's a problem with this lady supporting an idea that is working around saving. The hell with it being Mayor Baraka's plan, but what about an idea that's saving the lives of children who for the first time their kids are in college, man?
And most major politicians in this area signed a letter supporting it, right? You had most of the major politicians in the area signing on to the letter. We have a governor that you helped put in office, right? This is a state institution. So, at what point can we, like this is helping the city of Newark. She helped the city of Newark.
You mean how do we get power? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Like in that situation, you've got all the elected officials. We had elections, right? We got
elected officials are just people in positions. They don't necessarily represent power. It could, depending on how they got there. It just represent positions. We have a lot of positions, don't mean we have a lot of power. Mm-hmm. The seizure of power is a whole different thing, right? It's the seizure of these institutions that exist, these boards, these commissions, all of these things, to be able to be independent, to raise your own money, to, move bodies of people in different places, to, all of those things are what we need to be working on. We spend a lot of energy and time attacking each other or folks that could be our allies, as opposed to building power, like or seizing power. And these folks know that, which is why, we run the elections the way we run in New Jersey. The things happen the way they happen in New Jersey, because there are a lot of people in position, but very few people with power. So we have relinquished power for position.
What does that mean, and how do we get, especially, like, talk to me about especially the situation about Rutgers Newark, right? Because that actually
Rutgers Newark is a part of a whole piece, right, of Rutgers, period, the university. Newark, Camden are appendages to the university itself, right? So at the end of the day, when, what's happening in Newark is getting more credit, more limelight, more whatever for what's going on, as opposed to what's happening in New Brunswick. And there's a lot of pieces being moved in terms of money, finances, individuals, things that they want to make happen. They want to put everybody on board. Right? If everybody's not on board, then people got to be moved until they can get the people in a place that's on board with their agenda. Right? Or at least that's close enough to their agenda. And if anybody has any independent strength outside of that, then it has to be severed, right or wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you building something and you believe that Nancy is not a part of, empowering you to do what you want to do, you're going to sever that. And that's why she was severed, why we would sever that away and bring, the brother they bringing on is good. I think it was a chess move to grab him. He's a smart brother, understands what's going on, so forth and so on, to bring him there. It's difficult for people to come out and be opposed to that right away. So, I mean, that's what these people do. And because we talk very little and communicate only in crisis, and have not organized ourselves in a way that we can move as quickly as we can, as we need to, we always are responding to things as opposed to affirming ourselves. And that's different. Like, so when we made a decision that Nancy was the person, that there should have been a collective move to make sure when they was making the changes that Nancy was the person. Right? We waited until she was not the person to then say, oh, we wanted to be the person. And all of the forces, and some of the people got on that letter because they saw other people on it. So I'm gonna sign it because he signed it. I'm gonna sign it because he signed it. Like, as opposed to us coming together collectively and say, this is what we're gonna do. Most people just signed the letter. They did nothing else after that. That's really what it is. And look, you got the they do that Power 100, all these things in New Jersey. They got lists of people who are not even elected that are the most powerful people. Most of the powerful people in New Jersey don't even have no position. At the end of the day, you got about 4 or 5 white men in the state of New Jersey who make statewide decisions about who's going to hold office where and what and why. That's simply what it is, man. And they horse trade about those things. They make deals about that. And that's the way it's laid out. And the journalists are okay with it. The infrastructure institutions are okay with it. These folks are okay with it. They might be slight dissent, but most people are okay with it because they benefit from it in some capacity, or they're afraid of the alternative. It reminds me of
just finding yourself without position, whatever, right?
Yeah, the alternative is you get somebody in there who want to get rid of you. Who think you the problem, right? And they okay with the way the thing is happening. At least they could tolerate it. Most people they tolerate it, and it's beneficial of keeping the electorate not engaged as much as they need to be or have to be engaged. That's why they oppose to anything that engages the electorate at higher levels, right? Because they don't want people to understand what's actually happening here, right? To understand what's actually going on here. And all of the things, all of the issues that we have, how they're tied together, right? The folks in Cumberland County, which is probably the poorest county in the state of New Jersey, people would assume that it's Newark or Essex County, right? Because Newark is in it, but it's not true, right? Those kind of ideas that they have put out there in people's heads about what goes on keeps us apart and undereducated, and not understanding that the issues that we're fighting for are similar, if not the same. And if we joined around those things, then we can actually move the needle, a little further, right? And it's like the scene in the Game of Thrones at the end when they sitting at the thing, and this guy just killed the dragon lady, just killed her, and they trying to find out who's going to be the king. And one guy gets up and was like, "Well, why do we have to decide? Why can't we let other people in the decision-making process too? Because this doesn't just affect us, it affects everybody. So everybody should decide. Like everybody in the kingdom should decide who's going to be the king." They start laughing. And then one guy says, "Okay, maybe I should let my dog vote." Ha ha ha. Yeah, I'll ask my horse to vote too. Right? So that's really what this is about. Like, because the more people are engaged, the less you can control what's happening. Right. And you're liable to get something that's different than what you want, right? So I'll tolerate what's happening as long as I can horse trade my way into it.
So with respect to like the university system, right? And being a part of that, being able to have some influence, like how, like if elections and elected officials and
they appoint these people. They appoint these people. They appoint these presidents. They appoint these boards. There's boards and commissions all up and down the state of New Jersey, from sports authority to casinos to, pension boards, everything all up and down the state of New Jersey that we're not on, and that we're not represented on. And the people in power appoint those people, just like Trump appoints the federal judges. Like those things are a part of all of this stuff that we're talking about here, that these people then make policies about what should or shouldn't happen, that affect our lives, that we don't know, that we can't touch, that we don't grab. We elect people who make these decisions that affect our lives decades after the elected official is gone.
Fair, because like the changes that might be made, and I'm just talking about Rutgers Newark right now, I know that my students directly benefited from it, right? Like I'm a teacher in the city, and I know like a lot of my students, right, directly benefited from it in terms of the tuition, the higher living and learning community. All those things were really positive, and I think was very positive uplift within the community just based on what I saw, right? And the
took a long time to get there too, Jonathan. I went to Newark, right?
But
and you went to Rutgers,
exactly.
That's an old argument that we had with Rutgers since we kicked the doors in '69.
But it seems like we might be going
in the heart of this city, right? Why do you not have a fully engaged commitment to the people in this city?
Right, but when we got that and now they pull it back, like, are they just giving us, I mean, this is my own question coming from me. Are they just giving us a black face to stab us in the back? Are they just giving a black face to appease?
Well, that's what we want. It's not really about stabbing us in the back. That's what we want. We want the position. And we satisfied with that. We don't want the power. We just want the position. That's why we fighting each other, because we want positions. We don't want the power. We just want the position. We cool with other people having the power as long as we can get the position, right? That's it. And that's what we've become comfortable with. Period. Point blank. That's what we become comfortable with. And we don't want to challenge power because we benefit from these positions. Our individual families, all this other kind of stuff, benefit from these positions. And so power is something different. It's something different. You could tell it's different because you can feel it. It's different. It's different when, and these people could feel it. They know when you coming after power. They gonna shut you down.
That's what they come after.
That shit is embarrassing, right? You in 2024,
it should be,
right?
It should be embarrassing.
But really? Yeah, it's embarrassing because I'm saying with all the education we got, with all that we know, right? To hear our own brother, who's the mayor of the city of Newark, say some simple shit like that, right? And make it as plain as it can be, right? Power over position. And we still there, right?
Right.
And and all of us on this thing right now, right? I heard Amiri tell me when he came, he's one of the last times he was at the studio, he said that most of these people who sit in these positions ignored, particularly at Rutgers University, sit there because of him, right? Yeah. In positions.
Mm-hmm.
And these are
Marsha Brown knew that.
Huh?
Marsha Brown knew that well, right? Marsha Brown was all in.
Represented that too.
And these same people, kept that
now
mouth.
you can leverage your position to get some power, but the position doesn't necessarily give you the power, though.
Right.
And that's really what people are confused about.
Right.
And because we don't have any understanding of this system, like I said earlier, we fight each other to replace people to get
position.
So you blame individuals, so you get another person and another person and another person and another person, and you trying to figure out, you banging your head on the desk, trying to figure out why these conditions remain.
Right.
Because it's deeper than just getting a good dude in office.
Right.
That there's a systemic problem here that's working correctly, not incorrectly, correctly. And is going to take more than an individual. I mean, there's 100 smarter people than you historically who fought these people. I mean, you smarter than Du Bois and then Douglas, who taught himself, you know what I mean? Ran away and taught himself. I mean, smarter than who?
Right.
Henry Highland, who you smarter than these people? Like Richard Allen, James Cone. You know, there's hundreds of people you can name over and over and over again who were brilliant people. Marcus Garvey. I mean, you smarter than Marcus Garvey. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Baldwin.
Help me understand. Like, so at the end of the day, there's a systemic problem. Right? And there were elected officials before you, Negro, Adam Clayton Powell. There's all kinds of people in office. You know, Hiram Rebels. You know, there were people in office during Reconstruction who ran away from slavery, who got elected to the state legislature.
That's right.
After they ran away from slavery, who freed themselves and became a part of the state legislature, who got more grit and will than you, who are fighting. You're part of that. So if they by themselves couldn't overthrow this thing, what makes you think you can do it?
Right.
So the reality is you have to connect with other people and build power and not just fold all of the time and you know, not get into these kind of corny little debates with individuals about personality and position and all this other kind of stuff. Because when we're long gone, because we will be, because science makes that happen. You're not going to be here forever. When you're long gone, these problems will outlive you.
Right.
Right. And so if you don't build anything, you are setting your children up to deal with the same nonsense that you have to deal with today.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's not going to move you to change the way you organize it, then I don't know what else will. Right. I don't know what else will.
And I think that,
but part of that problem there is now you think of those of us who know that, right? Those of us who know that, right? Everybody's in their 50s and above now, right? Because a lot of the younger brothers and sisters don't even want to hear that shit, right? You know, let's organize so that we make sure that those coming behind us don't go through the same shit we're going through now. They don't even want to hear that.
Well, right? I think there are a lot of young people who want to organize. Let me say that. I just think that, you know, the reality is there's so much information out here today like this, and misinformation is confusion. You know, and at the end of the day, we have to be willing to have discourse with one another, to have conversations with each other across generations, across positions, across whatever. We have to be willing to have these conversations with one another, hard and difficult ones, to understand that we have to be able to struggle, but we have to be able to unite. Like we're not arguing with each other about petty, stupid, ignorant personality problems that we have with one another. We don't have time for that.
Right.
We have to be organized, arguing about strategy.
Right.
That's what our debate should be about. Strategy and all of those other kind of things and what it is that's necessary. And the brother I saw is how do we hold people accountable to have power? We seize it.
Trevor, that's a student from Seton Hall. Thank you, Trevor, for your question.
We seize it.
That's right.
Yeah, we have to. people run for office. See, the problem is we forgot why we were running for office in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it was about seizing power. It had nothing to do with being elected in these positions to like be careerist.
Right.
Part of it was about seizing power. We wanted to seize the apparatus of government, of power, right? That's it. And what happened is
undo the previous order of segregation. We were clear.
Right. That's right. And, you know, so somebody like Father Devon, who purchased the Hotel Rivera on Clinton Avenue in order to desegregate it. You know, this is what I'm talking about. Like to be able to organize and make things happen at that magnitude, right? And they count personally now. Folks with power count on the fact that we can't be together.
Mm-hmm.
That we won't be together.
Yeah.
That we can't disagree and still come get them.
Right.
They count on that. In fact, they organize around that.
That's right.
And they create divisions and give us individual things so the divisiveness keeps them in power. Or empowered, right? Our power, we already have it. The problem is we think other people have power, so we run towards them and leave us.
Yeah. Damn.
And we have to have faith.
How should we have flexed power differently?
Yeah.
Like in this situation, what should we have done? You say that we should have, before the decision was made, we should have been in those rooms. But how would that have happened? Should we have demanded that the governor appoint us? Like, what is the mechanism by which
there are some of us in those rooms, by the way? And so that's the thing. We convene those people. And if we made a decision that Nancy Cantor is somebody that we need to keep, then we have to begin, when we see changes being made. See, we were blindsided by that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When that thing happens, we have to say, y'all can change everything else, but you can't touch this. That's power. That's like in your neighborhood, right? You go buy some you buy a new pair of sneakers. The politics in your neighborhood is what gets you to keep those sneakers. Because you could buy a new pair of sneakers and come outside and somebody take them from you and they ain't yours no more. But the politics of the neighborhood it's clear. The folks with power say you can't touch him. I don't care what you do with everybody else, but he good.
Yeah.
Right? So what we establish here, we have to be able to be united enough, because it ain't nothing. Obviously, you can see for the mayor to just say it by itself, or the person who runs NJPAC, or this group or that group. How do we collectively make a point that this person is not to be touched?
Yeah.
Right.
Because you ain't going nowhere else touching they folks.
Right.
Well, man, listen, man, we out of time. As usual, by the time your ass get warmed up, man, you got to go home. You know what I mean? You know, which is, I'm telling you, man, you know what I mean? Got to throw some damn hot water on you when you come on, man, because that, you know,
Long
I mean,
days, man, Fridays too.
It's powerful position. Damn. Thank you, man.
Oh, man, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mayor, before you leave, I want to congratulate. Woke up this morning to CBS highlighting Arts High School, and it was a beautiful how they covered Arts High School, and big things, you know, going on in Newark. And every time I turn on our TV, something else is going on in Newark, and you're being highlighted. So continue to do the work, and people are watching. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Take care, man.
Definitely appreciated you. Yeah, that was good, man. That was good in terms of that analysis, because that was really important. That was really important.
I'm telling y'all, man. Listen, we in our 50s, just like I said, and some of us, you know, in our 60s. And I'm saying, man, we gotta. I don't know, man. You know, that's what's happening now. People are selling out for a position instead of power, and then we got people who are chasing right now who came through with us, everybody's chasing a pension because they ain't trying to say nothing to help nobody get in a position of power, right?
Well, Ed, you know that's been your biggest your pet peeve, if you will, that people go in fighting for the people, then they get their position, and then they forget what they were fighting for. So
Yeah, yeah,
you know
that's
they
happening.
can.
Right.
And just like he said just now, y'all, when he said that, people are banking on us not being able to organize
Yes.
and get together,
Mhm.
right? And that's true,
That's
right?
right.
Because they know that if black folk ever get back to that level of organizing and having the kind of meetings we used to have, right? That's a problem,
That's
right?
right.
That's a problem for them. But they don't have to worry about that because they got us chasing things, right?
Right.
And
All
everybody,
scattered around, being, busybodies instead of staying focused. I tell you,
right,
when Mayor first got elected, and I remember we did a meeting, convened all black elected officials in New Jersey and met in the central area. And one of his things that stood out that he said to me in his speech, that he said to the audience, to all of us that were in the room, we'll have an agenda of 10 things. We'll get to number 3 and don't agree and
yep,
fall apart. Instead of taking number 3, putting it to the side, work on the things that we do agree, and then and revisit what we disagreed on at a later time. But we'll get stuck on what we don't agree with instead of working on what we do agree with. And it's unfortunate because we have a lot of talent, we have a lot of great people, but we just have to come together and work together.
but the thing is though, Don, I'm telling you, the brothers and sisters who know it, the mayor said there are some young people who are organized, and that's true. I believe that. But
Yes.
but the problem is that just like that young brother from Seton Hall asking that question, right? A lot of the 50-year-olds who could help them get to those answers, right, aren't willing to do it anymore, right?
Right.
And I'm not gonna call any names, but we
Mhm.
all know we got some brothers and sisters who've been in the ranks with us ain't interested in that no more,
That's
right?
right.
Because a
Mhm.
lot of times they've been burned out.
They've been burnt.
Life
Yeah,
is tough,
yeah.
and so a lot of that idealism is gone, right? And
Mhm.
so you do have a lot of the energy and the enthusiasm, and a lot of people who want to make a difference. But I think that the question is really important because, hey, man, when I saw all the letters and the mayor and knowing that he got the governor elected, I
Mhm.
thought there was going to be a little bit more pushback on that. And I'd love to, even talk to the mayor more about like some of those specifics on it, as in why none of that pushback was effective. And what he told us is that for all the elected officials, for all like there was no level of uh, there was not a use of power to be able to do that,
Well,
which leads to a lot of questions, right? Like part of the thing he said is like, we went into politics to be able to get power to work together. It wasn't for position. It was for power for the community to be able to end these levels of segregation in terms of policy. And there are a lot of also cynical young people who are like, don't work for the government. Government never provides any solutions. You can't really, it's always going to be corrupted in some way. And that's why I think that this situation, like this loss, right? Because it's a loss for Newark, right? I
mhm.
think this loss is something that we really have to figure out, study, like understand better
Mhm.
in terms of
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
you literally had someone go into our backyard in a program that helped a lot of black people, a lot of brown people, a lot of Newark residents
All right,
Mhm.
were effectively helped by the policies that she put in place.
all right,
Um, and the message of taking her out is we don't want this. We want you to work for us, not them.
right.
And they put a black person in place, and that it seems like that's part of the playbook, right?
But
Put a
Mhm.
black person in place
right.
to
But
to
isn't but that's what the mayor just said, right? He said that's what we want,
right.
right? We just want a black person in a position, right? Not that they have any power, to do anything, right? And what he said was, he said the truth is that we were blindsided by her being removed.
Which is wild, right? Because you're like,
because we just discovered it in the news. It was already a done deal,
right?
And Marsha said what she told us was, Chancellor Brown, she said the only one who could dial that back was the governor.
Right.
That's what she told us.
Right. And the fact that that wasn't able to be dialed back or wasn't dialed back.
And the mayor just said we didn't have the power to do it.
Right. And it's just wild because it's like, if it weren't for Newark in particular,
that's right,
he wouldn't be governor.
That's right.
So those conversations would be interesting, right? Like, man, how badly did they want her gone, and how little power did we have to do something that seemed to be something that would get widespread support based on the actual real benefit. Like this is like millions and millions of dollars going into Newark kids' hands, right?
Yeah.
Like these millions of dollars in scholarships going into the hands of Newark kids. And I don't even know why there wasn't even more outrage in the city, right? Among people who are sending their kids to college. People.
That's the question. That's what I was getting at.
I did expect a lot more outrage. I expected more outrage on the campus. I expected more outrage overall, but I don't know if people understood what was going on and how revolutionary, how much of a help this was.
Didn't matter. That's not what they were.
Or did they understand, Jonathan?
I'm talking about like the people in Newark, our parents, our students.
No, I understand, but did they know? Did they have the time? You know, there's a couple of factors we always talk about in our community. Most households, people are working 2 or more jobs, child care issue. It's always, so when we know these things, we have to be very coordinated in our organizing, and we have to look the Amistad legislation in every municipality. There are 12 months and a board meeting each month, and that means to organize 12 parents, or maybe 5 groups of 12 groups of 5 parents, that these 5 go up in January, these 5 go up in February, and everybody, and they do it in the Orange, East Orange, Urban. They do it at every board meeting. When is it going to be implemented? When is it? Don't you think that within a year or 2 years, had something like that happened, that the Amistad legislation would have been fully implemented?
That's fair, right? Like, and it's not implemented a lot because a lot of the districts don't want it implemented, and therefore they don't, right? So
nor are the parents demanding it.
Right.
Nor are the parents demanding it.
But the real problem, though, Donna, is what the mayor just said, right? It is about our information. It's about what, and then Jonathan was saying, the level of bad information that we get, right?
Right.
And it's really what is it that people are tuned into? Because everybody's walking around with a goddamn computer in their hand every day, right?
And I just want to make sure, State Senator, are you on?
I am here. How's everyone doing?
Oh, hey, great.
Hey, how are you?
We are very happy to have you on. This is you are a regular on our show. Always good to have you back. I said that you were the hardest working assembly person. Legislation passing all the time, right? Like every year, there'll be at least one piece of new legislation, sometimes 2 or 3, that people have been fighting for years, that you would get passed. So happy to have you for the first time as a state senator. So congratulations on becoming a state senator for the state of New Jersey. Yep, big clap.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
And
have we talked to her since she had a new addition to our family. Congratulations.
Yes. I think that's the last time we talked. I think that there was a new addition to the family, and I think you were juggling multiple things at once.
That's right. As always, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and even tonight, I love you guys so much, and I wish I could come on more Fridays in the evening. The more we add to our family, the harder it gets, but it's always important to come before the people and to let everybody know what we're doing. And it's so good to see you, Ed and Jonathan and Baba and Donna, so I'm really happy I could join, and there's so much happening at the state right now.
Mhm.
There's a major bill that's happening to codify the COA obligations in suburban towns to provide affordable housing.
Mhm.
So right now, the affordable housing requirements for municipalities, it stands on state on case law.
Mhm.
So codifying it, and it's going to help make sure that this has to actually happen, regardless of who's in what administration and what future legislation could pass.
Because right now it seems like people would have to sue in order to get
That's right.
legislation built there. But what you're
Well,
saying is that
what? Go ahead, Jonathan.
does codifying it like what is the difference between now that it's decided by case law and codifying it in the legislature? Does it mean that right now people have to sue? And
so when the towns do not do the right thing, right now the towns have certain obligations. When they do not, fair share housing will sue, and they're very good, and they will win because of the case law that it stands on, and because of the Constitution and how they won this case under the Christie administration. That was incredibly important. This piece of legislation, let's think about like the way Roe v. Wade is being challenged right now, right? So when you hear about codifying, right, like what does that mean? You have Roe v. Wade, which was whenever you hear V in between something, that's a legal case that's being argued. And, so they won this case, and now this is, the case law in which it stands, but you see what has happened at the Supreme Court level, and it was important really to codify some of these advancements in legislation to make it harder to actually get rid of. So I use Roe v. Wade as an example because we hear the word codify a lot with Roe v. Wade, because we also in the state of New Jersey codified Roe v. Wade by making sure that in the state of New Jersey, women's rights stand on more than just case law, but actual legislation.
So that's why in Alabama and Arkansas and places all over the country, the state legislature is outlawing abortion there, where that's not going to happen in New Jersey and New York, because we've already codified the law that allow a woman's right to choose.
We become like a sanctuary in for many women who are looking for choice. And to be clear, like I've always said, I don't promote abortions. I'm not pro-abortion rights. I think that that's a very interesting lingo that people use. I don't even understand what that is. What I am is pro-woman, and I'm pro-choice. I'm pro a woman doing whatever she needs to do that's best for her body, in a safe place with her doctor. So, people have really politicized this so much. And I think a lot of the messaging around it is just really a bit awkward for both sides. And, I think it's very clear, that we keep that at the forefront, that this is really about a woman's right. Nobody has ever had to go to court to legislate or to argue a law or argue a case that a man shouldn't have a vasectomy,
right?
Or whether or not he should be able to have access to Viagra,
right?
Yet, these things exist in the opposite for women around birth control, as well as, some of the other, things that women need to make choices on. So, I think it's important to mention that, but I'm going down a rabbit hole that I didn't intend to go down on in this, but I will say that the state of New Jersey did codify Roe v. Wade, and now the state of New Jersey is codifying the affordable housing requirements that suburban areas have. because right now it all stands on case law, and we want to make sure that there are stronger enforcements around it.
So break it down, Brittany. This is a teaching platform. Make it plain, right? Who's got the bill? Who's sponsoring the bill? Where's it going? What we got to do to get it done?
Yeah, you know what? It's looking like it's gonna get done. I would say contact Fair Share Housing, Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey Citizen Action, and ask them, hey, how can we get involved and show support? So it's really good. Now, there's another thing that I had that just moved through committee. It just moved through Senator Troy Singleton's committee, and I'm really proud to be a prime sponsor of this, a prime author of the bill. He had a bill in the Senate and I had a bill in the Assembly. And when I joined the Senate, I said, hey, listen, let's do this in partnership. Let's merge the bills. And he was more than gracious and said, absolutely. So yesterday, we passed a merged version of our bills as both legislative leaders for the creation of accessory dwelling units to be able to be built and constructed throughout New Jersey, and making it harder for municipalities to stop it from happening.
Now, what are accessory dwellings?
An accessory dwelling unit is also known as a mother-in-law suite, a carriage house. Like, these are popular terms people have used over the years. This is a great way, like if a homeowner wants to turn their unused attic, basement.
You just popped out?
Yeah, she popped out. She was getting ready to get on a roll too.
Oh, Senator, you just popped out?
I popped out?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was saying, okay. I was saying that if a homeowner wants to turn their attic, their basement, or, their backyard, their garage, into another unit, that they should be able to do that in order to offset the high cost of living here in New Jersey. Look at what we pay in property taxes, and our mortgages and high interest rates. And when you think about it, our seniors often leave the state and our young people often can't return to the state unless they're at home, right? So this offers a way for us to build a home within a home for our seniors, for our young people. And oftentimes these units aren't as big as what units that aren't connected to another property are. So usually the rent is going to be less, even if it's not one of your family members that's living there, and it's just someone who is in need of an affordable housing situation.
Okay. And it also probably will increase the value of the home.
Yes, it does do that with the equity of the home. Yes. Okay. So I'm really excited about that legislation. We will see. Hopefully it will make it to the floor for a vote next month. Great to be working in the Senate. I'll tell you, we've gotten so much done in the Assembly. My last voting day, we got the Community Wealth Preservation Program voted.
That's right.
Yeah, Baba, that's my baby.
Now, the Community Wealth Preservation Program, what is that? And is that's something that's a bill that you clearly wrote when you were in the Assembly?
That's right. And the governor signed it right whenever, a few days after I was sworn into the Senate. This is a big bill, and many of you stood on the front lines with me because 2 years ago, the governor conditionally vetoed the bill. And we were asking him not to do that. And if he was going to do it, to accept the language that we were sending to him. We were not successful in our ask, but that's okay. Because now I did not accept the conditional veto, standing with the people, all of us in support of one another. And instead, we rewrote the entire bill, ran it back through the legislature, and sent it to his desk again. By the way, the revision of the bill included the language that I had asked to be included in the CV anyway. So it was a longer route to where we, to get to our destination, but we're here. And I'm really grateful for everybody. I remember coming on the show talking about the legislation, and we rallied support for it. And, all politics are local fans, and our People's Organization for Progress and our clergy members and our Divine Nine, and everybody came and we went to church.
That's right.
We educated the community about it. So, all right, let me tell you what it does. So, the Wealth Preservation Program, on the day of foreclosure, if you or your next of kin wants to save that property, you can go down to the sheriff's sale, and without having to bid against all the other sharks in the room, and I say the word sharks, but listen, property flippers are not the enemy. These are people who, it's a noble profession. It's a great thing if you can get into it. So I really shouldn't use the term sharks because that implies that there's like an evil type of intent. But no, really what it is just people with deep pockets doing what they're allowed to do.
Right.
So you do not have to compete against people with deeper pockets than you, because right before the bill passed, the way the sheriff's sale works is you need 20% in cash or money order of the amount of the property. And you have 30 days to get the rest of the money to buy the property. And that, again, is a system that has been written for people who have deep pockets of cash or access to it. Historically, that is not Black and brown people.
Right.
So the bill says if you or your next of kin wants to save the property, you don't have to compete against the people with deep pockets. You can go down there with just 3.5% down and the rest of the money due. And it's in a pre-approval letter from a lender. And the rest of the money due within 90 business days. That gives you close to 4 months to close.
Okay.
So you could finance the property. Okay. So now it's for the homeowner or their next of kin. More than likely, if the homeowner is in foreclosure, they're not going to have good enough credit to get a pre-approval.
Right.
So that's when you tag in your son or daughter, right? Or your hubby, or,
Uncle.
Yes,
Right.
that's when you do that. Now, the other thing is these are all rights of refusal. First right goes to homeowner. Second right goes to next of kin. The third right goes to, have you ever gotten calls from people who said, I paid my landlord, I paid every single time on my rent, and the sheriff is knocking on our door doing an eviction? They had no idea the house was being foreclosed on.
Right.
And they're being asked to move out.
Right.
Well, guess what? Under this bill, the renter has an opportunity to buy that home that they live in.
Nice.
With the 3.5% down and the rest of the money due in 90 days. So then there is an opening for nonprofit organizations, community development corporations, who are going to create affordable housing. And if they use it and they purchase a property that's owner occupied, they have to try to work with the owner to stay in the home.
Now that last part, can you repeat that last one? Because all of those were great, right? The next of kin, family member, and then you got a little slick there in a good way, in a positive way for people. You're like the renters.
Yes.
And bond together. I'm like, ooh.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very sad thing.
Renters.
What was that, Baba?
A transitional space for renters, to go from renters to owners.
Right.
That's right.
In the face of a crisis. It's powerful.
Yes. And then the last thing you did, because all these people have the rights before the deep pockets, and that would be the nonprofit, which is great because the nonprofit has deep pockets, but they have deep pockets for a purpose. So this is kind of like a revolutionary kind of bill with foreclosure.
That's right.
On the low. I don't even know if I should say it out loud right now.
I know.
Yeah. I don't even know if I should say it out loud, but it sounds like nonprofits who are good for the community, who want to reinvest in the community, can get to that property before the deep pocket, the well-meaning, noble, deep-pocketed individuals.
And early on at one point, there was a very small period when nonprofits were doing that. Nonprofits, if you remember, Pastor Buster Suarez, he had a nonprofit, and at one point, his nonprofit would buy, if you were in foreclosure, he would buy the home from you and then create a plan for you to come back into the home. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I love Buster
We
Suarez,
gotta get, we
Pastor.
gotta get him on. I go back with that man since I was a teenager. We got to get him on.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. He's wonderful,
Mhm.
and he has this D-free program. And I'm going to tell you guys a
Mhm.
little bit about that. I'm going to give you a sneak peek into some plans I got going on. But okay, so the wealth bill. Wait a minute, I'm still not done, right? So nonprofits,
Right.
there is a fifth component.
Oh,
The
the
fifth component. There's a fifth component.
Mhm.
Okay, it's a person who wants to buy the home and live in it for up to 7 years. So it's a person who says, you know what? Hey, this house is abandoned on my street. I want to get it. It's in foreclosure. Me and my wife, we're having a baby. We could see ourselves living here. Oh gosh, man, we have to go down there and they have a lot of cash. So we're probably going to get outbidded. We don't have, no, you can go down there with your pre-approval letter.
Mm.
You can bid up to the pre-approved amount.
Mm.
So listen, there's a lot of nuances around this bill. You got to go down there with proof of who you say you are, because that was a part of the debate, between me and some of the other powers that be. I tried my hardest to close every single loophole I could think of at the time. And even still, after a year or two after this bill is implemented, it just got signed. It's only been signed into law for a month. Even still, we're going to have to analyze and see how it's going. We might still have to close some other loopholes. But, I have a manual that I'm going to have posted on my website. If you check on my website, it should be up by March 1st. Okay. And it's going to be a manual that shows and teaches the community exactly how to use this bill. Because it's going to be like the DMV. Don't go down to the DMV thinking you're going to get something and you don't have all your documents.
Right.
Yeah, 6 points. That's right.
Yeah. So the manual is literally laying out exactly how to do this. I had a training with the sheriff officers, and there was about 75 profiles logged in all over the state. And then when they were turning their cameras on, they were sitting in conference rooms, some of them sitting together in droves of 10. So there were so many sheriff officers learning how to implement this bill. They're also waiting for the manual to come out, and I'm working with their sheriff association, because in the manual, it's going to go through all the 5 people. It's going to tell you about resources, about HUD certified classes. It's going to direct people, and we're going to put out a new manual each year, or I should say as needed, if information changes or needs to be updated.
Okay. Wow. That's actually amazing, right? Because that really is, when you're talking about community reinvestment, that's almost
right.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
but it's real, right? Because the way that the reinvestment, like everyone's saying, how do we deal with gentrification? How do we make
Mm-hmm.
against gentrification?
Mm-hmm.
And as usual, like State Senator Timberlake, the Honorable State Senator Timberlake, hardest working, continuing to be the hardest working legislator, has just another bill that starts to solve a deep-seated problem that we've had for a long time, and we're trying to figure out how to deal with that. And how do we begin to offset some elements of gentrification on a statewide level legislatively? And you took the thing that transitions wealth from people, like from poor or working class people the most, right, to
Mm-hmm.
people in pockets, and you were like, halt.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what it's about? It's about equity, right? So what I was explaining to the sheriffs is that it is clear that the foreclosure process is written from the banks and the investors' perspective. It's literally a process that is written for investors. So there's nothing wrong with embedding into that process equity for everybody else.
Right.
Let's go right.
You know?
So let me step back. When you first started and came on, you were giving an example, and you just happened to use Roe versus Wade. But I happen to know there was a bill that you were working on regarding midwives and doulas being able to get paid
Mm-hmm.
through our insurance. Could you give us little any insight where you are with that? I know you were very
Yeah.
passionate about that.
Yes, for sure. I have a whole package of infant and more maternal health bills. And unfortunately, I tried to get that whole package moved before I left the assembly, and it did not occur, but I still am carrying them with me to the Senate. Again, it's about equity, right? Like, I birthed 3 times while being in the legislature.
Mhm.
I birthed in one of the best rated hospitals in the state of New Jersey. I did that because I researched it, and also because, we were able to drive 45 minutes to it, right? I researched, I wanted to do a natural holistic birth, and I found, midwives out who were, able to help me have the experience that I was looking for. But all of which I'm saying is really packaged in a lot of privileges that we take for granted, right? So we take, but I don't take it for granted. I recognize that it's a privilege. And part of my legislating is to legislate that it not be a privilege, but that it be a right for everyone. So I want every hospital that has a maternity ward to be known as a great birthing hospital, because not everyone has a car or can go 45 minutes outside of their community. So I have a bill that makes every maternity hospital have to become mommy baby certified, which is a process that takes the professionals tell me it takes about 4 to 5 years. And, in order to get that type of certificate, it's kind of like when you see Blue Star schools, that they're doing something excellent. And I think that every single hospital in the state of New Jersey that is helping women to bring children into this world needs to be excellent. So that's one of the bills. Another bill is requiring insurance companies to pay for various methods of birth, including home birthing. Home birthing is not an option that most of my friends would choose. I mean, they laugh at me. They're like, "You're the flower child, the hippie," and they're right. I would choose that option, but I didn't choose it because we would have had to pay 10 to 15 grand out of pocket to have this experience at home. But why is that? So in Europe, they do home births and insurance is paid for it. So we modeled the bill after what Europe does. And, we're asking, for them to pay for this as well, because right now, home births are legal in New Jersey. They are happening in New Jersey. They are safe. The midwives, come into the home and into the space in order, to help usher in this new life. But unfortunately, it's something that is being taken advantage of mainly by the wealthy, who again have access to, the capital, which God bless them, right? That's great. But again, I just want equity, because how come the woman who is in poverty and is healthy enough, by the way, it's important to say, if her body is healthy enough and she has received clearance from her doctor to be able to birth at home, why should pay be an impediment? Right. Or her income be an impediment to that experience? So, and then there's, we had a bill that almost got passed and it didn't make it. We have some very conservative people in the assembly who are very conservative around medicalized birthing and methods. And to be clear, I do also believe in, medicalized birthing and options. I believe in a woman's right to choose in all aspects of her life, including how she wants to birth. So, I'm in support of it all, but it's all about options and access, and for a woman not to have to choose based off of what she can afford.
And especially given maternal mortality rates and problems that specifically Black women have had with the hospital system that are well documented by now.
Yeah. It's always really interesting.
Black women of means.
That's right. It's always really interesting whenever we get pushback and, from a hospital or from the doctors, and they're saying no, because this can be unsafe. And it's like, wait a minute, look at these statistics and look at where they're happening.
Right.
Statistics actually show that Black women in particular do better under more specialized, individualized care.
Right.
And that's what midwives provide. So I did it 3 times. To God be the glory. I made it through. I'm not going to tell you, ladies, it didn't hurt. It did. But, I'm grateful to have had the access that I had. And I want to grant that access to all women in the state of New Jersey, because every woman deserves to have the access. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that really does segue into what you were talking about with choice and access. I mean, they are part of the same issue when it comes to health. And again, you're on the front lines, right? Like I remember you talking about being able to birth at home or use a midwife and get that included in insurance. So that's excellent that is still being pushed. Now you said that it did pass this time.
It was passing through committees and toward the end of the last voting session. Unfortunately, it didn't pass all the way through. So we've already reintroduced our entire package of bills, and we're going to try our best, to get it done this time. I do want to mention another bill that did get passed, and I saw somebody in the chat shout it out, and that is our Domestic Workers Bill of Rights.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what?
In a climate when immigrant justice is like being violently attacked by the right wing, this was a serious. Go ahead.
It's true, Baba, what you're saying, right? Like immigrant justice, because when we think of domestic workers now, we do recognize that it is people who are from the immigrant population who are doing a lot of these jobs, right? But that's now. Okay. Let's really talk about then. Not just now, but then. So I spoke about this on the floor, and I said, I did this in honor of my grandmother, who was a domestic worker, who came off the sharecropping fields from Durham, North Carolina, through the Black migration, traveled to Harlem, then sent back, had jobs prepared for all of her brothers and sisters, and her sisters primarily, they were doing domestic work and cleaning houses and being baby nurses. And then my grandmother actually taught me that skill set. And, in my early days of college, I too was a domestic worker. So this also has very deep roots. And the reason why domestic workers were carved out of a lot of worker protections and worker rights, it stems from the racism that existed around Black and brown people and slavery.
That's right. Slavery and
can you explain the actual history of that? Like slavery in terms of
sexual assault. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the New Deal, and also in a lot of worker protection bills, just over the years throughout the nation and even within our own state, there are domestic workers who've been excluded from basic rights, like a lunch break. I mean, so this bill, I have to say, Domestic Workers Alliance, I love working with all the organizations. That's my favorite part of being, one of my favorite parts. My favorite part of being a legislator is when we get the bill passed. But how we get the bill passed, is working with all the organizations, the people power. And it is now the law in the state of New Jersey.
Oh, that's excellent, right? Like, and that was passed quickly. As a matter of fact, we had Myrna Morales and 2 people on from the coalition that's been working for domestic workers' rights all over the country, including an actor from New Jersey. And it was interesting because when I was talking to Dr. Morales about it, she was like, "Yeah, and it just passed in New Jersey." And when I started looking it up, I was like, "Yup, Britnee Timberlake would be now Senator Britnee Timberlake, who ended up getting that passed." And I'm like,
the last time she saw
that is good.
Last time you saw me in Trenton, right? Last time you saw me in Trenton rallying, that was a co-rally. That was a co-issue rally, talking about community-based violence intervention and the domestic workers bill. Those are the two. Those two coalitions together for that particular rally. But I want to come back to what you raised in terms of your own family history, because while the immigrant question drove this particular moment, is history from our community's vantage point is important to appreciate. My child is a great niece of the great Ella Baker by 4 generations. Ella Baker got her teeth organizing for domestic workers' rights in New York before she went south, right? Rosa Parks, that's a part of her legacy. Before the bus boycott, that's very much a part of her legacy. Because that's what Black women did. And Black women, like on the plantation, was subject to being violated, not just by not having any basic benefits, but coming under attack sexually.
That's right. That's right.
So we need to lift up,
Jesus have mercy.
all the vigor and the roots that they have, because that's what's going to sustain the work.
And Baba, when you think about our history and how we literally raise other people's families, and then now when it's time to like turn around and help in our communities, they say things like, "Oh, sure, we'll put together some parenting classes for you." Like, they'll say condescending things like that to our community, right? And it's like, what? Do you understand the history? Like, we raised generations for people that weren't necessarily a part of our family.
Now, is there? I know we're running out of time, but the question: Are there more pieces of legislation that you are pushing that you want to talk about or highlight right now?
Sure. You know what? Not highlighting legislation, but I do want to say this is a preliminary announcement. But I want to invite anyone who would like to be a part of what I'm getting ready to say to please contact me at BritneeTimberlake.com, because next to my legislative office, not a part of my legislative office, next to it, we're opening up an empowerment center. And the currency is love, and it's a barter system and a shared knowledge system. So if you have a skill set that you want to teach the community, and this is something that you want to be a part of, and of course, if you want to take advantage of classes yourself, please reach out to us at Britnee, BRITNEE, Timberlake, TIMBERLAKE.com. Okay. Send a note and say, look, this is a skill set that I have, and I'd love to teach it to the community. I want us to share our knowledge, and I want us to share it not, always in exchange for money or for, it just kind of complicates the whole system. This here is about empowering and sharing what the gifts that we have to empower our community. And please know, we are definitely going to be hosting community wealth preservation program lessons and classes, as well as other things too.
Well, Senator, I'm going to speak it that will be the home of the Essex County East Orange location of the Freedom School. So I'm going to speak that, because we need that more in all of our communities. There's one in Maplewood, and we need to duplicate them more. And I would like to see that happen in our community.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. It's needed. It's needed. It's needed. And I think we have a beautiful opportunity to touch on several subjects: economic empowerment, fitness, computer literacy, LinkedIn profile building, all of that, because it's really knowledge is power, and we got to get back to the basics of sharing the knowledge with one another.
Okay, and is this what BritneeTimberlake.com looks like?
That's it. So go on there, hit the contact us, and say, hey, by the way, you said resume building. I could do a resume class, or hey, you mentioned physical fitness. This is what I can offer to that. And like I said, the currency is love, and it's mainly a barter system, and I'm really excited about it. There'll be a press release that's going to be going out, and we are in process of setting everything up. So you heard it here first, and I wanted to share that with everyone, because I know your listeners are certainly in line with a lot of the philosophies that I have as well, and maybe they want to be involved.
Okay, that is excellent, and that starts to go to what I heard Baba Zaid talk about a few weeks ago, and what I think the mayor was talking about or implying just in the last session, and that's if you want power, like it comes from organizing and building, and
That's right.
I was a few weeks ago we had the Ironbound Community Corporation on, and I realized I never knew their story. They started off by a health, basically daycare, right?
That's right.
So it was a bunch of
right.
people getting their kids daycare, and it went
One of
from
the most
people
toxic
getting their
neighborhoods in the country. Yeah, that's right.
right became from daycare to being one of the most important environmental institutions for environmental justice in the country. And
That's
so
right.
when you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, there's Senator Timberlake being the hardest worker, not in legislating this time, but actually in doing what the legislation says. And that's it's the community empowerment legislation. Looks like you're just trying to engage in some direct community empowerment.
That's right. That's what it is. That's what it's about. And shout out to Ironbound Community Corp. They are a strong coalition member who has supported and has helped to get to the finish line many of the bills that I mentioned. And to Maria over there, who is just doing amazing work. That's my girl. And I am so proud of the work that they're doing, because it really reverberates not just in Newark or the Ironbound or in the state of New Jersey, but throughout our country.
That's right.
And so the last question we'll ask is the question that we always ask every time, and that is.
Before you go there, John, just real quick, I just want to lift up something. Coming behind you, Britnee, is Cuqui Rivera from Latino Action Network.
Hey,
right there. She's in there.
Lan is so wonderful. Hey, Cuqui, how are you?
Go ahead, Cuqui.
You hear that's my calling card. You hear my boy in the background?
Aw.
That's all right. Family. That's all right. Cuqui, go ahead.
I just want to say I am a 200% Britnee Timberlake groupie. I love you to the sky. No matter where you are so humble, you're so skilled and so representative of our community. We are so blessed to have you. I just thank you so much for
I love you too, Cuqui, for sure. And the Latino Action Network does such great work.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you do.
So go ahead with the ritual question, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna ask you, and thank you for that, because like a lot of times people may not understand just how deeply they're appreciated by people who get it, right? Like Britnee Timberlake, Senator Timberlake, you are rare because like you are doing progressive legislation, and you do it with such a you do radical legislation with a happy face and a smile, and you smooth with it because they don't. You just make it work, and I appreciate that so much. So,
oh man, thank you, thank God. It's all the glory.
Ritual question: who is your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group? Or really, you've answered that question.
Who you rocking with now? That's the question. Who you rocking with now?
Who am I rocking with right now? I don't even know who these new artists are. Okay, I look to my friend Shantae Palmer, who keeps me hip. She has teenage daughters. I don't even know sometimes what they're saying or what their names are. Little this one and that one. So I still got to go with what I grew up with. It's Nas for me, and Lauryn Hill, a Jersey girl. That's it.
And Nas is still making great music. Nas
is doing his thing out there. Nas is a storyteller. He is doing some wonderful work right now.
Yeah, I always resonated with his message around community empowerment. So yeah, for sure.
We very much appreciate having you on again, and we will have you on soon again just to give us an update on some of the other legislation and how it's gone. And I didn't ask the question that I really forgot to ask, and that was, what is the difference between being a state senator and assembly person? But I'll ask you that next time.
Sounds good, guys.
All right.
Enjoy. God bless. See you later.
God bless. Talk to you soon.
Do well, Cuqui. I'll be listening. Bye.
All right.
Hey, welcome. welcome back on. I know our DJ wanted to be on right now.
Yeah. So is this? So are you coming as DJ Cuqui, or are you coming as
right? We heard
Cuqui? You know what? You know how we
Well, first let's get it right. It's
we
DJ
heard 2
Lady
tables and a
C.
microphone.
Yeah, DJ Lady C. Okay.
Lady C is what it is, but no, I'm not coming here today for this. The weather didn't break yet.
Okay.
Look, we don't put none of our weapons down.
Oh, I'm always ready now. You know this. Oh my God.
Have you been have you done anything or been inspired by a lot of the what's going on with the 50 years of hip hop? Have you participated in anything that's really inspired? I know I sleep with the TV on, and they had the Grammys 50 years, and it came on. And it was like Eric B. and Rakim, 1 o'clock in the morning. I jumped out of bed dancing, and I was like, you know, that music just does something to your soul and just make you just like, yeah. But then the next morning, my bones like, yeah, 50 years, Donna, don't forget.
Yeah, I just have to say that I don't know if I'm going to leave out of that era. Like from New Brunswick, and I raised a lot of hood kids over here. And a year or two ago, they gave me a surprise birthday party, and they made it the 90s theme because they knew that was me. But it still is me because that's where the messages are. And Nas is, we know, I'm answering my question ahead of time because we're going to get into some deeper stuff. But it's Nas, it's Jay-Z, it's Tupac. And it's that whole 90s genre there that I'm kind of stuck in. Even when we were doing block parties last year, we was just kind of sticking with that, celebrating the 50 years of hip hop and the powerful message that is now global and cannot be matched. I'm kind of with Britney when it comes to the artists right now. I'm not able to keep up with them enough, and I don't hear the messages that the 90s drew. So I'm falling back a little bit on that, but you know, when I'm at a block party, if you want a song, give it to me on YouTube. I'll throw it in the speakers.
Are you pleased with if you watch 50 Cent, he's telling a lot of our stories. Are you like paying attention to like he's reaching back to that hip hop era and getting different things that went on, and he's telling them in stories, bringing them to TV? How do you feel about that?
Really, besides the block parties when the summer breaks and stuff like that, if you know me, and I know you know me, my love, I have like 10 jobs. I can barely keep up with the music part of it because of all of the advocacy I'm doing across. I'm really not just involved with criminal justice reform. I'm involved with Latino issues. I'm involved with everything that means. I have 2 full-time jobs. I have 28 grandkids. I can't really sit down and watch TV anymore.
8 grandkids.
Nice.
Well, if you get it out, I said I'm very pleased. He's just really telling some good stories, and like when you go back and you think of that era, like the different things that's going around, I was just like, 50 has an eye for artistic eye, and I'm very pleased with him. But
yeah, that whole era, we just came up in it, and it kind of created who we are in a lot of ways. There's so much of that culture built in us that we need to pass on as well.
Right.
Truly, in our ways. But yeah. Oh, wait. I'm going to just say right here, I am also a 200% groupie of DJ Rhino.
Well, he's going to be on. He asked specifically when you would be on so he could jump on. So
I love him.
He's a fan of yours as well.
We got to play together once in Newark recently this year.
Oh, yeah. That's
he told us about it.
Right? Where was it?
Oh, down by the Washington Park over there. So Elgin from La Casa Don Pedro, they was doing something with the homeless. They was doing a fundraiser for the homeless. And a lot of hip hop artists came out to support and and perform fantastic. A lot of the ones I know from, because I do a lot with local artists as well, and some of them were showing up, so that was really sweet too.
Good stuff.
Now we know that you are just shifting a little bit. We know that in addition to being a DJ, you are doing a lot of work with the Latino Action Network, and you are pushing legislation. And there's a legislative conference. Can you, for our readers who don't, for our listeners who don't know what the Latino Action Network is, what is it, and what is the legislation that you're working on now? Like, what is this legislative conference coming up on the 2nd?
So it's almost hard to answer that. The Latino Action Network literally had to create a video to say what's the difference between the Latino Action Network, which is a C4 political advocacy arm, and the Latino Action Network Foundation, which is a C3 nonprofit arm that looks to secure funding for the local Latino community-based organizations, nonprofits throughout the state of New Jersey. And you say that to somebody walking down the street, they say, what? So we literally have a YouTube video out on that. But the Latino Action Network is involved in many legislative activities. We're the main plaintiffs in the desegregation lawsuit against the Department of Education that came out in 2018. It took all the way up till this year for them to it took about 2 years for them to make a decision on the appeal that the administration completed a couple of years ago. It took the judge of that Supreme Court hearing 2 years to make a decision, and the decision became mediation. At this time, there were wins on both sides, if you will, but
what was the legislation? I mean, what was the court case about?
To desegregate schools in the state of New Jersey, the overrepresentation of to make it more balanced, not only to it's not about sprinkling kids, black kids or white kids, in one place or the other. It was more about the balance of the funding. It was more about the quality of the curriculum. It was more about the teachers and tenure issues. It was more about culturally appropriate academics and all of those kinds of things. And it lasted for about 5 years. It might be the only kind of court case of its kind in the country, really. And it has a lot of implications. It has a lot of implications in potential regional schools, choice kind of schools. I may not want to go to Elizabeth School. I might want to go to whatever the fancy town is in Union County, and a zip code should not restrict you from that. It has a lot of implications when it comes to it's directly connected to housing discrimination and redlining and those things in heavy ways. And it's hard to, figure all of that stuff out in a decision that would be useful or valuable to all.
And it's interesting because when you talk about this, there's also the matter of segregation within schools, right? Like if you look at Montclair, South Orange, I believe Morristown had issues like that, where you have a population of kids. You have your white kids who are in all honors classes, all AP classes. You have your black and brown kids who are, for the most part, like they'll have one or two in the AP class, but for the most part, they're relegated to the lower classes. And there's all kinds of issues when you have even integrated schools that you have segregation within those very schools. Is this lawsuit also addressing that form of inequality?
There's all kinds of issues. In the first phase of the Supreme Court case, the Latino Action Network Foundation, along with Salvation and Social Justice and others, did a series of think tanks throughout New Jersey where we went to the most segregated districts in New Jersey and talked to students, talked to parents, talked to administrators and say, what does this look like? What would this look like if it was good? how would you fix it if you were here? We did it in Patterson, Atlantic City, Perth Amboy, Newark. I don't remember. It was about 6 or 7 of them, right? Red Bank we did, and we had what happened in those think tanks was that once parents and students and even administrators, honestly, throughout the think tanks, when they realized that this was an honest conversation and a constructive conversation, and one that they were really being heard and paid attention to, they didn't want to leave in any of these think tanks. They just would. Then it started to pour out. You look at the way the housing thing is set up too, because there's people like West Windsor came up, and it was like they went to West Windsor because they got $1 million homes. They're not sending their kid to Camden, and you know what I mean. And all of those things are factors here.
And they just said that too. They were just like, we don't want to send our kids to them kids in Camden. Are you crazy? No. They were like, we got $1 million homes. We pay for these $1 million homes. We got $1 million schools.
We pay for this for a reason.
Right.
Right?
They were like, blink your kids.
Yeah. And then when you go to Camden, you kind of see, you see the tragedy of the absence of resources and how you see it in the eyes of students, and then just the whole structural aspects of districts that don't have the same kind of resources. Go back to the housing part, property taxes and where the funds are coming from and all of this stuff. All of this is part of this lawsuit. So I believe it's
because there are some kids who actually just need more. Like there are kids who need more resources, right? Like in Newark, we have very heavy English as second language. We have heavy in terms of certain types of special needs that are difficult to educate, as in like if you're emotionally, like if you're diagnosed as being like emotionally angry, volatile, there's trauma that's happened to you, you're going to need some more resources, right? Now,
I might say not more, I would say equal. Because if you're in one of those fancy schools and they need something, they just go shift around because they have the resources to do that. And I want us to be careful because our kids can learn. Our kids are smart. And if they had the resources, there would be no question, you know? So, and I believe that this is actually one of the biggest civil rights fights of our age. And I believe that even though it's going through the Supreme Court and those kind of things, I believe that this will continue. I believe that this hopefully will affect our grandchildren, because we might not see this in our lifetime. And it's a big thing to be part of. It's a big thing to be involved with. It's a big thing to learn more about. Because when you hear it, well, I ain't sending my kid to no white school, or I ain't sending my kid to no black school. That's all you hear. But you don't realize, the oppression of what the argument is.
Because you don't realize that there's been a disparity of resources.
Intentional.
And even like, I know even with the charter school debate, right? Like the charter school debate would be like, hey, you need to fund us more because we will have more resources to be able to give to your kids. And that's why you need more charter schools. When in practice, and again, I'm a public school teacher, in practice, it seems like they also engage in segregation, but segregation among kids who need less resources in order to teach them. I know that Newark has a huge problem with charter schools right now because they're not accepting English as a second language learners. Newark has a disproportionate number of them, and they don't accept them. Also, the more expensive special needs students, they don't accept, right? And charter schools will literally say, our school's not for everybody. And they will counsel kids out that they can't educate, meanwhile, still taking the money.
I'm so glad to find out that you're a public school teacher because you're the perfect one. I've spoken to public school teachers and they're like, oh, I don't want to hear about that. That's just more headache because you have so much on your plate, that it's so hard for you to even as a teacher to see the implications of a class action lawsuit like this. And I remember I was working in La Casa Don Pedro in 2009 to 11. And I don't remember if it was while I was in Newark or after, but I remember that I think it was one of the high schools was on one side, it was a public school, and on the other side, it was a charter school.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what school that was, but they was describing it as the kids were fine. The teachers were acting up. They were almost fighting each other in the hallways because of just those two structures being right on top of each other with all kinds of terrible things going on there.
And disparities right there, right?
Right there in one school. That was insanity. Why? How do you design chaos intentionally? And the kids were trying to calm the teachers down.
Must have been under Cammie Anderson.
I don't know.
She was known for that. She was
that period.
Yes. School and a charter school in the same school building, making sure that the charter school had a bunch of stuff
because chaos.
The public school did not have. Oh man, she created lots of. I saw her create lots of chaos.
Intentional stuff
in Newark public
insanity. But
right.
So I'm grateful to you, Jonathan, to afford this conversation here on air that we don't really get to talk about publicly too much because we're so busy with the lawsuit now, but it will be part of the assembly as well. That's what I'll be talking about in a minute.
Okay.
And wait a minute, DJ Rhino's here.
Hey.
I love DJ Rhino. I'm his new groupie.
What's going on, Cuqui?
Ain't nothing. Waiting to play with you again somewhere down the road here this summer.
Yeah, we got to do it. We had a good time last time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We were DJing for Hip Hop Against Hunger.
See?
Okay.
Yeah. Big up to my man Knowledge Infinite as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got to do it.
So who's going? When is the Assembly Summit and who's coming and whatnot? Lay it out.
Oh, yeah, true. What is it about?
What's the next point of attack?
Woo! Okay. I sent you the link and the invitation. I don't know if you know how to put that on there, but the C4, the advocacy arm of the Latino Action Network, holds an annual legislative assembly every year. And this is the 14th annual legislative assembly. It's free. It's on March 2nd, which is a Saturday, coming up very soon. It's in Rutgers, New Brunswick, right next door to the Theological Seminary, 15 Seminary Place. It's an all-day event. It will draw a good 300 plus people out to it. The lawsuit in the education breakout will be one of the subjects, as well as early childhood will be part of that breakout. There's an immigration breakout.
I'm sorry. Is it the Latino Action Network Foundation?
No, this is the C4.
Okay, so it's the
Latino Action Network. Baba, I sent you the thing. Are you able to put it in the comments?
I did not see what you sent me.
No, I sent it to Zaid.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to put it up now.
Okay. And well, there's many breakouts there. And all you have to do is register and show up. I am running the criminal justice reform breakout. I'm an actual founder of the Latino Action Network, and I've been the criminal justice reform chair since its inception. And actually before Latino Action Network became something, right? But we have an incredible rock star panel coming up and an incredible message in the criminal justice reform breakout. I'm going to give you the cast of characters first. We have Commissioner Kuhn of the New Jersey Department of Corrections on the panel. We have Nafisa Goldsmith, who is the very first. Huh?
Nafisa, I'm just saying.
We've had her on our program. I'm sure we've had her on our program.
Yeah. So, but you don't know that she's the very first ever in history returning citizen that is now employed by the Department of Corrections as the commissioner's confidant and outreach specialist, community outreach specialist. So that is history by itself, right? You have Stephen Campos, who is the director of domestic victim services and community street teams for the Attorney General's office.
Right. It comes straight out of our ranks.
Jersey City. Fantastic dude. We have Raquel Henry Romans, who is the policy director for the Salvation and Social Justice organization. Another incredible human being.
Raquel took the point for the Seabrooks Washington bill. We're doing a press. Just put a pin in this. March 1st, we're doing a press conference to lift that up in Trenton as well. Keep going.
March 1st, huh? Oh, the day before the assembly. Come on, Zay.
It's a press conference.
Okay, so
be cool.
Yeah. We have the New Jersey Public Defender, Jennifer Saletti, who is actually one of us in so many ways. I don't know if there's been a better public defender ever in the New Jersey Public Defender's office, but there have been many great public defenders. But for me, she's a rock star. She's been on the ground with us for many, many years. And she's one of the presenters there. There's a gentleman named Damon Sharuka Venable. Sharuka is also a returning citizen, I believe a juvenile lifer who's done over 30 years in prison, and he is now the Project Life Director for the Public Defender's Office of the Attorney in New Jersey, and he's also history, the very first returning citizen ever hired by a State Department like that in the Public Defender's Office. Never been done. I said Jennifer, Raquel, Stephen, Commissioner Brown, Nafisa, and Samuel Quiles. Samuel Quiles will co-facilitate the breakout with me. And he is a juvenile lifer. He was one of the Comer hearing releases, which helped him get out of prison. He's done over 30 years. He's now working in the city of Newark I'm not sure what his title is over there, but he's working with returning citizens, doing something with the city of Newark. And you can see just by that all-star cast, the kind of conversation that's going to be in that room. That room always has people who are impacted in every way. We know that they're not people who are coming to learn. They're people, they're us. They're the soldiers, they're the warriors, they're the mothers, they're the grandmothers. And it's going to be, you can see in the registration, if you click back on the registration link, once you register, you can just scroll down and see there's almost 180 people already signed up right now, and you'll see us. I saw you sign up, Zay, but you can see it too, right?
So go to home. I'm at home. Where do I go?
Oh, no, where did Zay, the one I gave you, there's a registration link in there.
Yeah, I put it on, you can't see it where I have. I put it on the YouTube.
Give it to
okay. Right, let me see if I can if I see it.
Okay. So the criminal justice breakout session is doing something very, very important for New Jersey as well. We started a movement 20 years ago. The Latino Action Network didn't even exist when we started this movement. I used to work in something called the Hispanic Directors Association of New Jersey. And we started back then, we created a working summit, which is not a conference, a working summit. It was called the New Jersey Community and Corrections Working Summit, impacting communities of color. And it was for the very first time in New Jersey, to address mass incarceration of the adult population. Oh, wow. Because New Jersey, prior to that, had only ever dealt with minority disproportionality with the Juvenile Justice Commission and the juvenile element of New Jersey. So back in 2003, we, for the first time, actually put the adult mass incarceration movement on the table and moved it forward. We did this with Black and Brown advocates and state leadership, which was also a partnership that was never really, that never really gelled before that, if you will. And we had the summit looked from 3 tracks of focus. It looked from law enforcement, legislation, and sentencing guidelines. That was track 1. And the second one dealt with incarceration, incarcerative services, and rehabilitative or habilitative services, because you can't be rehabilitated if you never was habilitated in the first place. Some of us go in there very broken to start out with, right? The third track dealt with successful and sustainable reentry in a moment in time where reentry wasn't even a word. Look at us today. Look at the Bonnie Watson Coleman omnibus package that passed in 2010 and all of the laws that we now celebrate. Some of the laws that were the first of its kind in the country as well, like bail reform, isolated confinement, ban the box. All of these things are direct results of that advocacy. And some of the
so
advisory.
You're talking about a lot of the most progressive advocacy that we've talked about in the show for a lot. That your organization has been one of the major forces advocating these things.
That's right.
Now I have the website up. I mean, I have the link up.
Okay.
Where do you want me to go on this?
So scroll down a little bit, and you'll see a blue words, and it'll say register here. And that's where you got to sign up for the assembly. You just got to scroll down a little bit. You see it?
I'm scrolling down. It doesn't show over there. Hold on 1 second. I think let me put the right one up.
So one of the things that happened, I know what happened with me, is as soon as I registered, whenever I would go back, my stuff would come up and I couldn't get to a blank registration link. So I had to go back and forth until I got one. That must probably what Jonathan was dealing with.
Because I just looked at the link you had, Zaid, and I'm registered already too, so I can't see where the original one is either.
Yeah.
So you want me to scroll down to where?
Somebody signed up there. The best way I can tell you so we can save time because we're on air is just
you got it, Jonathan. You were right there. Keep going.
Yeah.
That's it. RSBN. That's it right there.
Yeah, that's where you sign up right there. But the icons on top of it will already show you who's already signed up. You see right there?
Exactly. Yes. Frank.
Now, do you have now, is there something that shows like all the guests and who's going to be there and what time they're speaking?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. They're still finalizing some of that.
Okay,
That's
cool.
what I called you. Yeah.
All right. So what's really incredible about what's going to be covered in that room with that kind of panel is that, and I don't know if you're ready for this, and nobody else knows about this because this is the first time I'm saying this publicly, is that we have a commissioner and a public defender on the panel.
Nice.
And after we introduce them, they're going to take a back seat to the returning citizens who have made history, and we are going to give the returning citizens the space to control the breakout. Because it's only right. Woo-woo style, for us, by us, always, right? So that's part one. Part two is, what are they going to control? We are going to be talking about a new event that's coming up in January 2025. And it will be the 20-year anniversary of the original Working Summit. And
what was that? What was the original
in
Working
2003? That was that Working Summit that we talked about with Black and Brown advocates and state leadership. And we developed a map for progressive answers to how to reform criminal justice here in New Jersey, many of which we just talked about. A lot of legislation has passed. A lot of things have happened. These people sit in state departments now for the first time in history. That would never have happened ever before. So we've realized so many incredible things over the last 20 years. That was a direct result of the Working Summit and Black and Brown unity and constructive dialogue, that we are going to do it again. We're going to do it in 2025, January. We're working on dates right now. We believe that it's going to occur in Monmouth University. This will be a 2-day event. The first one was held in Rutgers Bush. It was a one-day event, but the Working Summit report can also be found on LatinoLandFoundation.org. It's already up there if you ever wanted to see the original report, and I can send it to Zaid and you guys as well. And we will be very seriously helping the returning citizens also run that summit, because 20 years ago and ever since, no matter what we have done at the Latino Action Network, when it came to criminal justice reform, we refused to do anything without the voices of the incarcerated included. And they were included in the original summit, and now they're going to run this summit. Many of these guys
were still inside back then.
That's where I met them. And that's why this is like such a full circle moment in my lifetime, because I was in Trenton State Prison and Northern and Southwoods and ADTC, if you want to know, Edna, right? And I didn't go in there thinking that I would ever meet these people out here. They were lifers. They were in for all kinds of, 50, 60, 70 years. I didn't expect to see them. And then they started some of the work from the Working Summit and the early release and all of these things, that the laws that passed helped them come home, right? And some of them, because before this happened, when they would come home, even in New Brunswick, they would come look for Cuqui. They would come look for Zaid. They would come look for whoever they remember, because half of their family was gone and everything else, because there was no reentry agencies out here. Look at us now, right? But look at the caliber and the class of some of the returning citizens that are out here now. Look at the returning citizen support group in Newark.
That's right.
Look at that family.
Right now, as we're talking.
Right there, right? Patterson Healing Collective. Look at that.
Was behind on it for a minute.
Look at Newark Community Street Team. Look at it. This is us. These people coming home and they're saying, look, we got this. Because you would always come home and 9 times out of 10, you came out broken and you was either back in there in 3 months, gone, or back on drugs or something, because there was nothing to come home to, or nobody to come home to. Nobody that understood what you were going through. Nobody that understood the deprogramming that had to happen inside your very soul, let alone your brain, and just mix it all together. It's stacked against you then, and it's stacked against you now. But there are pockets of us blossoming now to grab your hand and say, hey, come over here. What you need? You need some clothes? You need some food? What you need? You need help with your resume? And that's what we do out here. I actually serve on Returning Citizens on their board. I've been working with them and trying to help them expand their resources, not only in Newark, but elsewhere. And
when you say Returning Citizens Board, our board of what, like board where? Is it a state board? Or is it like a board in the organization?
No. You in the city of Newark, at the Newark Conservancy, you have the Returning Citizen Support Group, which is a full-blown grassroots agency of men that come together religiously every Thursday, about 50, 60 strong, to do support groups and to do all kinds of other like life skills and, community resources when you come home. And many of them even know each other because they're all being released from all of this legislation. COVID emptied half the prisons.
Right.
When the Working Summit started, there was about 30,000 prisoners in the state of New Jersey. Right now, with all of these laws that we've passed, right now there's about 13,600 in the state prisons. That's less than half. And that includes the halfway houses, Jonathan. So we've really done stuff, huh?
In the last 4 years?
Since right now. So I'm saying 20 years ago, there was 30,000 prisoners, more give or take, right? Mm-hmm. Now, right now, today, there's about 13,600 prisoners, something like that, in the entire state of New Jersey, in the entire prison system, not county jails, prison system, but prison system, including halfway houses. That's less than half over the last 20 years.
Right.
Wow. So that means that, wow.
And they
so
help each other.
We did some stuff.
That is amazing.
So themselves helping each other.
Yes.
And
For us, by us, with us.
But you're also saying that working like with government, lobbying, legislating, working with legislators, working with the government, right?
And
Various
departments.
government agencies and people working together lowered the prison population from 30,000 to 13.
Yes.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
And there are two sides of that. There's that policy side, there's folks coming out, and then folks coming into our community-based violence intervention ecosystem who are now the credible messengers creating the peace on the streets.
Yeah. And shout out to Chino, and I know they do their meeting every Thursday. And they do their meeting every Thursday. But here's the thing too. Not only, and now they're those that are on parole and now those that are on probation, they don't have to wait to vote anymore. They can vote while they're still on parole and probation. So now they're invested in what the election, who is running, why they're running, selecting the person, selecting the questions that are being put up, when questions are coming up on the ballot. So they're more engaged to the process and don't feel, and no longer feel that they have no say so and that they don't have anything to invest in this. They're engaged in it. They're a part of it. They're questioning the process and they're changing the game.
So think about what you just said, beautiful. It's 83,000 people that are now eligible to vote. This is not no Mickey Mouse legislation. This is some real stuff. COVID early release, the removal of isolated confinement, police accountability, police licensing, all of these things. All of this is major stuff. But let's take it easy, because even in the working summit coming up in January. So after we got the legislation passed, and this will be part of the working summit, and the Institute for Social Justice will have a big hand in this. Did we go and talk to Cuqui? Does she know what voting is? Does she know why it's important? She only knows that she can register to vote now, and she can vote, but she don't know nothing about it. She came out. She's not yet deprogrammed from 20 years in prison. And she don't really get that. So I'm gonna go vote for Donna. And Donna said she was gonna do this, but she didn't do that for me. And she was in there for 3 years. So why does it matter to me? So what we now have to do as our communities is, why does it matter to you? What is the importance and the value of your vote? Besides telling us that our ancestors died for this, what does that mean to me right now? So we have to bring that message and that education, not only about the vote and what that looks like, but also about after someone's in office. Hey, Donna, you told me something, right? Does my vote take you out? Do I
hold me accountable?
Right.
That's right.
And education and turnout education, not just show up and sign the book. We got to teach them more about that. And that's where we are now.
And even those once a week organizations, right? Those organizations are all like, if you're meeting once a week, part of that's a political education. Part of that is, and if you organize people to meet once a week, well, they can march on somebody.
That's right.
So
they can have conversations. I'm just saying, right? Like if you meet once a week, then, I mean, that's a Mary Baraka who is like, meet once a week, that will solve all your problems, right? Like you will figure out how to deal with what you deal with. And inevitably, when you meet once a week, that political education is a part of that.
It is, but that's one group. But that's one group. You're saying 50, 60, maybe. I mean, they're coming out every Thursday. They probably got about 200 in their nucleus, if you will. But what about Patterson? What about Jersey City, Atlantic City? What about, because we said 83,000.
83,000.
So we got to get a little bit past that. I'm telling you, the brothers and sisters that's in returning citizens, they're real proud to go push that button or drop that lever. Because they know what that is because of the unity.
And Cuqui, let me see. This was a vote that was put up by the Democrats and passed by the Democrats, but also understand that they were pulled into rooms of the Republicans and saying, "Hey, we can't vote with you. We like what you're doing. We're watching, and while it's not quite on our agenda right now, but keep in touch." So they're being uh, the Republican agenda is being savvy too. So no, they're not supporting it, but they're watching to see how things are moving. And you better believe they're going to be savvy enough if it changes things to the point where it's impeding on their plan, that they're going to, begin to bring them in, talk to them, and see if they can sign them up. And we should have a very diverse um, voter uh, people voters out there. Everybody, all our eggs should not be in one basket. People should support agendas that matter to them, but we should not take things for granted. We have to stay steady, and we have to make sure that we're allowing them to hold us accountable and not taking them for granted.
So everything we're talking about right now and all the advocacy that people of color throughout history have had to fight for is because they're fighting against a design that's working exactly the way it was set up to work. Right? And when you hear a Britnee Timberlake speak that comes from us, that speaks like us, that has the love of God and the love of community in her very aura, she
Right.
just shines and she shines and glows with it. And she's in that room. She's also learned how to speak across the aisle.
She has.
She has, and we need to learn that, because the actual overarching kind of umbrella of what a working summit was, is, and will have to still be, is to break silos. We don't necessarily speak to the Attorney General's office very happily all the time because we got issues over there. But if we don't sit there in a room with people that don't agree with us and know how to convert them or bring them closer to the middle, then we're not advocates. You see?
That's right.
We're not advocates, because I can talk to Zaid all day, but what's that going to do? Me and him, we're good. But I need to talk to somebody who don't agree with us. And so the summit, the Latino legislative, and by the way, you'll see legislators over there. And there might be a few Republicans over there. There's certainly going to be the Latino caucus, but there's over 300 people there. In fact, the morning panel is a legislative panel. And you'll see them there.
That has been one of the weaknesses of the left in the last 30, 40 years.
Well, this whole silo,
not engaging in the whole spectrum in the conversation, and just staying in those lanes of comfort. That's been we've ceded ground to the right wing in state power as a consequence of a steady motion, and that's why we're at the threshold of this country going to fashion, because we can cede too much ground, not covering that in our organizing.
Right.
So when Donna tell me go talk to Zaid, I'm gonna say Donna needs to say, why ain't you talking to that guy over there?
Right.
Because you don't need to talk to Zaid. And we kind of have to not only learn that that's necessary and valuable, but we also have to know how to have that conversation with putting our stuff in our pocket to hear the other side from a genuine spirit to figure out what could make it work better. That's exactly what the Working Summit does. How can we make we're not happy with the Department of Corrections. We're not happy with the Division of Parole. The New Jersey Public Defender just released a report yesterday about the calamity of parole and those things, right? Right now, the Department of Corrections has 1,300 to 1,700 technical violations for parole. Maybe I didn't pass a drug test or something in there. I'm going back to prison. Right. So there's non-violent technical violations, which would take that 13,000 down to what, 12, 11? Just on stupid technical violations of parole. We're not happy with them. But if we can't sit in a room with them and build and work on a plan that we can both achieve together, nothing's going to happen. You see, and that becomes so challenging because we always walk into these rooms with so much emotion and so much anger and so much pain that it's so hard for us to leave that at the door and realize that we're speaking for the voiceless.
Yeah, and it is I love the work that you were doing, and I know we're running out of time for this segment, but you should stay for the next segment because I'm not going to ask you the question at the very end because due to the multiplicity of professions that you have and that you will be a DJ, I'm sure that DJ Rhino welcomes you into the next segment when he's talking about hip hop, and you might want to start it off with asking her the question as we segue in to DJ Rhino in the state of hip hop with our special guest Cuqui Rivera.
DJ Rhino.
So, Cuqui, who you been listening to recently? Who in hip hop is keeping you going right now? New, old, or unheard?
50 years of hip hop, baby. I'm still Nas and AZ and Tupac. I'm still right there. I'm right there in the 90s. I can't help it.
Okay.
I don't really understand 2024 rappers much.
There.
I feel you. I mean, hey, it ain't. I mean, when you think about, our generation, that stuff ain't really for us. That's for the young ones just putting that out,
Oh, and I forgot to say DJ Rhino. I'm your groupie, baby. When you hit them turntables, I was done. I ain't seen that in a while. I can't do it. I love you.
Aww.
I thank you. So, but have you heard AZ's latest album? He has a new album called Truth Be Told.
Oh my God, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Write that down. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not bad. He's got Moo Fresh on there on one of those songs.
That kid's a force.
Yeah, Moo Fresh is dope. But he's got a few people on there, but I mean, just hearing AZ alone, I mean, he didn't even need any features.
So you're with me, right?
Yeah, AZ is one of those dudes. He's definitely
one of those dudes.
And and of course, Nas has been on his Dean recently, doing all of the albums, the trilogies. He had the King's Disease trilogy, then he had the Magic trilogy.
Forever unapologetic, forever.
Yeah. It seems like when he's get older, he's become like quite prolific right now. He just stays in the studio, just knocking down jewels.
Nas got to a point in his career where he doesn't have to answer to any labels and anybody's scheduling and all of that. He can put out music whenever he feels like it.
That'll free you up.
Yeah, and he's free to do that now. So
he's doing so much creative work. I love to see, like in different movies, he's the narrator. He's a storyteller. It's so beautiful just to see. He did. Remember when there's a couple artists that have done this, that have performed with a whole. Choir, not a choir, but a whole what do you want to say? When he did the thing with the
the symphony?
The symphony, yes. And that was just phenomenal. Nas is it's just surprised he's, like I said, and I even asked Cuqui in the beginning, I think him and 50 have done some projects, the stories that they're telling. There's so many platforms where you can. We're not there's more than just 4 people you have to deal with. There's so many platforms you can go to tell your story, or you can build your own platform, and they're using that to tell our stories, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
Nas has definitely been using his power. He was behind that. He was part of the whole Yankee Stadium thing that went down with the 50 years of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
He was behind that. Because he's got his stakes in Mass Appeal, and Mass Appeal's been doing a lot of stuff with the power of Nas involved. So Nas has been doing a lot of documentaries. He did the Supreme Team documentary. he did a couple of things, you know. So yeah, Nas is putting it out there. He's staying busy. He's putting his work out there and staying creative.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all seen a couple
His
years
daddy-
ago, Black Nativity, and they used Harlem as their stage, and he was the storyteller through the whole movie. He told the story, and it was just real interesting how he did it. But it was beautiful.
Yeah,
Well,
it's good. It's good to hear the hip hop voices when you hear them narrating something, or you hear them. You know,
Mhm.
Oh my God.
you always hear
a lot
Nas,
of
you
them.
always hear MC Light, you hear Queen Latifah.
Ooh, Queen La. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Chuck D.
Yeah.
Yep, Chuck D.
And what's the one that I told you, the one that Jaden was in, that was on Netflix. He was a narrator in that too. The one that was more about the DJs and the hip and the graffiti. That Jaden Smith was in. The I can't think of it, but it was on Netflix. And it was telling about the DJs back in the day and did the graffiti on the subway and everything. But he was a narrator, and it was really creative how they did that. And it was
Yeah.
like, wow, you know.
Like I said from the top, with all these jobs, I'm like, hey, man, from Living Color. I don't get to get on. I don't even know how to sign in to Netflix. My daughter put it on my TV. I don't know how to work it. That's how bad I am.
That's how we are. The kids know all the passwords. We don't know any of the passwords, any of these platforms. You know, we gotta ask the kids.
I think it's called the Get Down, yeah.
Oh yeah, to get them.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
Oh.
Now, Cookie, if you get them, and that might be on YouTube. If you look that up, you will
I'm
be.
gonna try now.
Yeah.
But I got a question for all of us. When we should be going together to see the Bob Marley movie. What's up?
Yes.
Hello. What's up?
His birthday was the 6th.
Oh man. We should
And I'm
just do that
already
as a
hearing
family.
feedback. Everybody is saying it's phenomenal.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
I'm glad
interviews I
it's
have
open.
seen, they have said, of course, the one thing I like is when people come out and it makes them want to learn more. Like they wanted it to go on. It wasn't enough. They didn't want it to stop. So I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I want to see that, and I want to see this crazy. It's real silly, but I want to see it. It looks ridiculously funny. The comedian Afion Crockett, he has a parody of basically just the rap game. It's a parody of the rap game, and he's doing imitations of famous imitations that he's done of Russell Simmons and Jay-Z and all of these people. But he's playing all of these different parts. And it's called A Hip Hop Story. That's the name of it. It's called A Hip Hop Story. I'm not sure on the release date of it, but it's already got a bunch of people like myself who likes silly comedy, man.
It's a movie?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a movie.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a parody of the rap game.
Don't forget, I'm your groupie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like at Seton Hall a couple of weeks ago, DMC was there.
Woo.
And he's out speaking, and he has a particular audience that he wants to speak to, and that's college students and high school students. And he spoke and he told his story in a way that just had you, at the edge of your seat. But basically, when they did that Walk This Way, he was like, I was at the height of my career, and that night he went to bed and he wanted to commit suicide. And thank God he didn't, and he's here to tell. And
But it wasn't Walk This Way, it was Down with the King when they had just made their comeback. Run DMC had just made their comeback, and Pete Rock had produced Down with the King. And it was this big comeback for Run DMC. He said at that point, that's when he felt like.
When we was at see, he said they had did somewhere else, but when he told it, and he was just like, "But thank God." And it's funny how, for me, when God intercedes, and it was like, he wanted to do it, but he needed to do one more thing, and that one
Mhm.
more thing, and then one more thing stopped him. But he was just amazed that he can talk to somebody. He's like, "Wow, who thought you could just talk to somebody?" And what he was getting at, that it's okay to get therapy, and we know in our community, for a long time, therapy was frowned upon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when definitely check out the documentary, the Run DMC documentary on Peacock. It's called Kings from Queens, and it's a three-part documentary, three-part series, and it's really good. It really gets into their origins and how everything started with with Russell Simmons and Curtis Blow, and how Run used to DJ for Curtis Blow and stuff like that. They really get into the origins
And
of the
and
struggle.
as we speak, the trial is still going on for Jam Master Jay, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
and the foolishness to have when we're gonna learn, because that the community and how that was like a real neighborhood, and how jealousy just caused a man not to be here, and that's sad.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's kind of what happens. You get overwhelmed with fame and riches that just hit you out of nowhere. You don't know how to handle all of that stuff. I heard on the
Mhm.
radio coming home from work somewhere that Little John, of all
Mm.
people, his new album now is a meditation album.
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah.
bug?
That's
So
great, right? Of all people,
Yeah.
of all people, that's what I mean, right?
yeah, what does that sound like? I wonder what that sounds like.
Yeah, I'm curious because I actually conduct Ubuntu ancestral meditation
Mm.
to the lifers, and I'm doing it in Hudson County College soon. But and
Have
I
you
bring
heard?
us to our roots that we never been taught. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
that was important to me. That it surprised me that it was him, but
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Cookie,
But Lil John's
have you heard
go.
Andre 3000's album?
no, I don't be hearing nothing. I can't even get to Netflix. But Andre
Oh yeah, yeah.
3000.
Because Andre 3000, he put out an instrumental album. It's called New Blue Sun, and
Oh
it's
my
him
God.
basically him playing different wind instruments. And that album is a very meditative album. You gotta hear that album.
Yo,
Definitely good for meditation.
part of the I'm sorry to backtrack us to before, but part of the work that's going to happen now starting after the assembly is I'm going to be going back inside the prisons to East Jersey State Prison, Aurora Way, and Edna
Mhm.
Mahan, and I'm going to bring those incarcerated voices to the working summit. I'm even going to try to get them a live feed when we actually go into the summit in January. I don't know if that's going
Mhm.
to happen, but the second session that I'm doing in both of those prisons will be the Ubuntu ancestral meditation with them. And now I have to hear Andre's album because
Yeah,
I need that one meditation song. Him, Little John. I got my own, but if
yeah,
it's like that and they let me at least just play that background music, wow! Thank
yeah,
you. See,
yeah.
that's
And
why I
cook
do it, bro.
and and Cookie, and they have the lawsuit that they're appealing to about young men who were traumatized in the correctional. Have you been following that? That they're putting that they're kind of getting people to call in, that the young men probably during the 80s when they were in the correctional facilities, and talking about being traumatized. What did they see? Were they sexually abused? Are you familiar with that lawsuit going on now?
So there was a couple of lawsuits. There was a lawsuit. Zaid was with us in the rally with Edna Mahan. But right now there's stuff going on all sides of the spectrum. What do I mean by that? There's two or
Mm-hmm.
three suicides right now in the prison system. You know
Mm.
about that sheriff or that guy up in I think Passaic County, Sheriff Burnick, that he committed suicide. This
Mm-hmm.
whole element of mental health and the Latino Action Network put forth white papers on mental health, on health
Mm-hmm.
conditions inside prison. So we've been tracking that all along, and this is part of the conversation that we're going to be having in the
Mm-hmm.
working summit. And we
And,
look at who's on the panel, right? But it's going to be a very short panel because of it's a 1 day conference and stuff like
right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a conversation for the next time you have me on because we talking about music right now. Now I want DJ Rhino to still love me.
Okay. But and we have to make sure that young people call out because it's primarily people. Go ahead, Rhino, from the 80s. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
Also, yeah, real quick, I wanted to talk about a legend that we just recently lost. He was like kind of like a hidden legend, because it's like, there's like a whole world of hip hop that was taking place before hip hop became a thing, before it became the rap music industry. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of DJs. There was a lot of talk and speculation too about the 50 years the stuff, and whether they fully celebrated the culture, or just celebrated the rappers that we came up with. Because there were a lot of people from different elements of the culture that didn't get any shine last year for the 50th. A lot of graffiti artists that didn't get it, a lot of b-boys and breakers that didn't get it, a lot of DJs. We just recently lost a super legend, man. DJ Eddie Chiba from Harlem. We lost Eddie Chiba on Tuesday, on the 13th. Eddie Chiba was like partners with DJ Hollywood. DJ Hollywood was one of the DJs that would be downtown and it'd be rocking at the clubs, where you had to have on some nice shoes and slacks, and you was coming in there looking slick.
That's right.
He was one of those DJs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The party DJ downtown. So you had DJ Hollywood, you had Eddie Chiba, Curtis Blow used to mix with them a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Russell Simmons was their boy, and that's kind of like how Russell kind of started getting into promoting parties and stuff like that, But Eddie Chiba was one of those dudes, he was one of those guys that used to be rapping along with the beats and stuff, like Hollywood was doing. And Eddie Chiba never really got his shine, not even as much as Hollywood. Hollywood didn't get enough shine either, but Hollywood got a lot more shine than Chiba did. But Eddie Chiba was right there along with him. And so we lost Eddie. His original name is Edward Sturgis. You know what I'm saying? He came up in Douglas Projects in Harlem. Big ups to Douglas Projects, because I went to school with a bunch of cats from Douglas Projects. He was actually alum of my high school, Brandeis High School, uptown in Harlem too. So rest in peace to Eddie Chiba, man. One of the old school pioneer legend DJs, man.
And so, Rhino, we started without asking the question. What's why the T-shirt today?
No, it's just Tame One. I just got my brother Tame One.
Okay, Tame One. Okay, not just Tame One. It's a Tame One.
Now, speaking of Tame One, there's a crew. It's a production group called Parallel Thought. They just recently re-released a Tame One album on vinyl called Acetab Vocab, and this is the cover for it. This is Tame One's work right here, actually.
Wow. You don't see vinyl no more, man. That's nice.
See vinyl anymore. Yeah,
that's why I love him.
This is the Acetab Vocab album. This is the back. This is also Tame One's work and stuff, artwork and stuff on the back. But yeah, they just re-released that. You can find it on Bandcamp. It's called Acetab Vocab by Tame One and Parallel Thought. They just re-released it.
So Rhino,
I had the Tame One shirt on. What's up?
Now that 50 years is turning into 51, right? How do you see the future? How do you see the messages of the 90s genre and the beginnings of hip hop evolving now? Do you believe there'll be a resurgence of the message? We know that from our cultures, we're storytellers, and we lost that with slavery and everything else, and we kept some of it in secret, but now the whole hip hop culture brought the storytelling back. And I don't know if the new genres capture that anymore. Do you see us coming back? Because I kind of do. I do,
because I believe in the pressure. It's really based on the pressure. It was pressure that pushed us into the conscious era that we had back in the late 80s, early 90s. That period between 88 and 92. We were really on some strong conscious stuff. You know what I mean? It was serious.
90s, baby.
But you got to think about what pushed us.
And then somebody stole the soul.
Yeah, think about the things that pushed us to that prior to 88
Absolutely.
and 87. Think about, we were going through Bensonhurst and Yusef Hawkins and all of that kind of stuff. All of that kind of stuff was going on at the time that really pushed us into that frame of mind and really want to do, make a song like Self-Destruction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the things that we're dealing with now with Najee Seabrooks, with Carl Dorsey, with all of these people now that we're still marching down the street all day, every day, because it really didn't ease up.
Right.
No matter what we've done, no matter how we fought, there's still those pockets of go ahead, do your dance. We'll still be here. Wait till the lights go away. You know what I mean? So it's like that part of our pain and our struggle is as much alive as it ever was. It just took on a different shape, if you will.
Yeah. So I mean, I really believe it's going to boil down to the pressure that's applied to the people. You know what I mean? I think once we feel it enough, we're going to get off our behinds because we ain't going to have no choice. When you don't have no choice but to fight, and that was the whole thing with the Panthers. You know what I'm saying?
Pushed up and you're back up against the wall.
Back up against the wall in the corner, man. You're going to have to start scratching and fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to have to take.
Well, speaking of Panthers, we're up against the hour. Speaking of Panthers, we're up against the hour. Cookie, why don't you give us a rundown of next? No, it's not next. It's on the second. We can change now.
Okay, real quick.
We got to wrap up.
Okay, real quick. March 2nd, be there. It's free. 14th Annual Legislative Assembly for the Latino Action Network. And it turns out over 315 Rutgers, New Brunswick. Please go. The link is in the comments over there. And there was something else I had to tell us. What was it? I forgot. But please come to the Latino Action. Please follow us on the Integrated Justice Alliance on Facebook. That's actually my site. There's over 2,000 people there, and it's completely criminal justice focused on New Jersey. And there's not those trolls or not. Those are us. There's people there that they're real people. I know most of them, of those 2,000 people that are on there, which makes me very proud of that. So if you want to be very much in touch with criminal justice reform in New Jersey, please look at the Integrated Justice Alliance on Facebook. It's a group. All you got to do is join it. I'm the one pushing you through. You can't sell carpets there, but if you got criminal justice stuff you want to share, community stuff that you want to share, right there. That's how I will end it. And I love politics are local. I'm so glad that you surprised me, Jonathan, with that you're a public school teacher.
Yep, a proud public school teacher and debate coach.
When we talk and you listen, that's part of the I am because we are because I am. When you heard it, you got to share it, you see. You got to bring it to your colleagues over there. So
absolutely.
Maybe they want to know more, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and
I just want to remind everybody, when we hear the name Dr. Clement Price and February comes around, we always think about his annual Marion Thomas Wright lecture, and it's this Saturday, tomorrow, and it's going to be at Rutgers Paul Robeson Center, and it's it begins at 9:30 a.m. and it goes to 3:30 p.m. and it's the 44th annual Marion Thompson Wright Lecture Series. Now, Cook, you got to help. The topic is the La Fruiza de las Fosas Negras, Afro-Latinas and Las Americanas, the power of Black voice, Afro-Latin identities in America. And that's tomorrow at the Paul Robeson Center, 9:30 to 3:30, 9:30 a.m. to 3:30. 44th Excellent. Year.
Oh,
nice. You. And big shout out to my debater Ashley Lorenko and to the coach, my assistant coaches out there, the amazing Timatope Ogundare and Chaz White, who are right now in Berkeley. I was supposed to be out there with them, but I hurt my knee earlier this week. So I've been staying home to rest it because, got to be able to walk. So,
trying to do the layups.
Yeah. Actually, through a combination of exercising, a lot of walking, and not going to get checked when I should have, right? When it was a little bit thing, I could walk on it, a little bit of pain. I'm like, a little bit of pain. But yeah,
push through it.
Yeah.
Gotta
And
Oh, I
wisdom. You got to
pushed through it,
wisdom.
but then I pushed in my way to a crutches. So now I'm on crutches.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
there's that.
Take care of
Also,
yourself.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, DJ Rhino, where are you going to be? Are you going to be on Twitch tomorrow?
Yeah, originally I wasn't, but I'm still gonna go on Twitch tomorrow, regular time, 3 p.m. Twitch.tv/Rhino CMZ for the shake up. And then afterwards, I'm gonna be in Morristown. I'm gonna be at a place called Whiskey and Virtue, and it's on 4 John Street in Morristown, New Jersey. It's gonna be we're gonna be celebrating the Aquarius birthdays. If you're an Aquarius, come through. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be celebrating all night from 7 p.m. to midnight. And yeah, just come through. It's going to be pretty much like me and like 8 other DJs. So we're going to have.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's going to be hip hop, R&B, dance, club, house, reggae, you name it. It's going to be everything.
Yeah.
Everything but country.
No, country's on the map.
Unless it's Beyonce song.
Until Beyonce.
Look, listen, Beehive
Coming
stepped
up.
up. That was a little short, awesome story. Somebody asked on a country station to play Beyonce's song, and they was like, "We don't play Beyonce. Click. Oh, this is a country radio." Well, the Beehive went into action, and because because if you listen to the song, it is country and everything. And guess what? Her 2 songs is being played because you have the sister stations, the bigger stations.
They did it for Little Nas X. They better well do it.
That's right. And
they probably didn't know it was her.
For Little Nas X.
Yeah, listen, it's nothing like, and that was Miley Cyrus' father who came and took that young man under his wing, but we can take a lesson from that organizing. When the Beehive gets serious, they
probably didn't know it was her when they started playing it, and then when everybody liked it, they couldn't take it off.
Oh, they knew.
And on top of that all, right, like it just becomes more apparent. That's one of the things I love about what she did with that, because she could have predicted the pushback, and then everybody's going to be like, well, the origin of country music is Black.
Yeah.
Like what you talking about?
Yeah, because there's a country singer. I think his name, a young man, a Black country singer. I love country music, but this young man, he is phenomenal. I'll send you his name, Rhino, so you can just check out some of his things. But this brother is just doing some beautiful things in country music. I love the storytelling part of it.
And thank you so much. I know we're getting ready to head out. Rhino, thank you for telling us where you're going to be too, because we appreciate that, and try to get out there.
4 John Street, Morristown, New Jersey. Whiskey and Virtue. That's the name of the place.
Whiskey and Virtue.
Yeah,
all right.
That sounds serious.
We're going to be celebrating Aquarius' birthday, so come through.
Nice name. Nice name.
Right.
So
start out at Rutgers and end up in Morristown. All right.
Right. So thank all our guests coming on this evening. Thank the mayor, the Newark Mayor, Baraka, for coming on again, like he does every month. We appreciate all the wisdom in the back and forth. Thank you for the hardest working now state senator in the business, Britnee Timberlake. That's what I always call her, because she's always talking about progressive legislation that she's putting out there, and we appreciate her a lot. And Cuqui Rivera, thank you for coming on. And we've got to have you on just for the DJ part sometimes too. So I'm not even kidding. Sometimes we're going to have you on just to hang out.
Yeah, I'll be saving the world, man.
We here.
Yeah, and Cuqui, I want to be at the annual legislative conference and talk to. Yeah, I want to be there.
I'll be
so
it's always packed. It's always.
I just registered, so okay.
All right. So thank you so much, and everyone, be safe and be careful. We'll see you next week.
All right. Peace.
Take